What's up, San Diego?
San Diego, turn it up. From the dugout to the sidelines, from the front office to the fan in the stands, this is where San Diego sports comes to be heard.
College athletics is the gift that keeps on giving. This is why I love this stuff.
He's not just talking about the game, he's driving the conversation, breaking it down, calling it out, and saying what everyone else won't.
They start licking their chops, man, when they hear like, oh, look at all these guys the Padres could potentially trade.
This is the voice San Diego sports trusts on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
We're your favorite show's favorite show.
This is the Braden Surprenant Show.
Think about the children, the family show.
Now, here's Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego, and a happy Monday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fans. Good to be with all of you today. It's great to be talking Padres baseball today after what was a good weekend over the Houston Astros. The frustrating part is they're probably good enough to sweep them this weekend. Unfortunately, only took 2 out of 3, but what a great game it was yesterday for the Padres against the Astros on national television. I mean, that was a great performance by San Diego in all facets of the game, starting with the starting pitching, into how the bullpen was managed, into the offense, into the big players that you would expect to be huge contributors on this team, the role players contributing to this team. I mean, everybody had a part in yesterday's victory, and yesterday was the team that I think a lot of fans and us in the media and the Padres themselves thought they could be at the beginning of the year. I said on July 23rd, this team is cooked. And at that point, they were. They were coming off of, I actually said on July 24th. I said on the Friday before. That Friday was coming off of the bad loss to the Braves in a series that you probably could have won all 4 of the games against Atlanta. It was the same team, same story, different day. The Padres at that point in time were not in a really good spot. They were 4 games out of a wild card. They were hanging on to being part of the equation, and they had a 7.4% chance of making the postseason at 50-53. And I think a lot of people after that game on that Thursday, going to the Friday, were thinking this team needs to sell. Now, I thought maybe buying the margins. I thought maybe if you wanted to, I didn't mind maybe sending away Adrian Morejon if you really didn't want to try for it at the season. I thought the Padres had already made up their mind about buying before they even got to that point. And then the series against Miami happened, and it kind of changed things. But since we said on this show this team was done, they've gone 12-4 in their last 16 games. They have moved from 4 games out of a wild card spot now to a game out. And then, the Dodgers didn't really help you out this weekend against Arizona, but that's neither here nor there. They went from 4 games out of a wild card to 1 game out. They went from a 7% chance of making the playoffs to now a 42% chance of making the playoffs. That's still left less than 50%. Diamondbacks have a 52% chance of making the playoffs. The Phillies have a 79.5% chance of making the postseason. But the Padres have played themselves right there into consideration. They're in front of the Marlins by 2 games. They're in front of the Cardinals by 2.5. The Nationals by 3.5. And the Pirates, the Pirates have dropped to 5.5 games out of a wild card spot, which means the Padres are 4.5 games in front of them. And they're in a really good spot. They are starting to separate themselves from the pack, and now it's whether or not they can hang on and stay with the Phillies and the Diamondbacks to put some pressure on them in the next couple of weeks or so. But yesterday was a taste of what this team could potentially be for the rest of the season and what the team could potentially be in October. Now, this week, big series for the Padres, of course. They're going against the best team in the National League Central. And, the way the Cubs are playing right now, I feel like Chicago is actually playing better than Milwaukee. And I think that was a big factor at the trade deadline. Kyle Glazier mentioned that on our special edition of the trade deadline last week about how the Cubs smell blood in the water. I think they do. And I think the pressure is on Milwaukee now, who's done a solid job, but not necessarily anything to write home about. And then, of course, they did not add to the level that they probably needed to at the deadline. Cubs are 5.5 behind Milwaukee. This could be a big week for both the Padres and the Brewers as the Padres hopefully try to take 2 out of 3 from Milwaukee. It will be a difficult task this week. On the other side, bad news for the Padres in terms of like the Arizona Diamondbacks. They get to play the Colorado Rockies. Maybe Colorado can surprise them. Arizona's continuing their homestand that they have had now with 4 games against San Diego, 3 against the Dodgers. They'll play 3 against Colorado this week. And we'll see what the Diamondbacks have in store for the Colorado Rockies. But, Colorado's not very good. The Padres going to have to try to keep pace with Arizona. They're going to have to try to match the win. So, yeah, my thing is if Arizona takes 2 out of 3, Padres got to try to take 2 out of 3 and stay 1 game behind. On the other side, though, they're a game behind Philly, and Philly plays St. Louis. Now, St. Louis is a little bit further down in the standings. The Padres have a little bit of a cushion on St. Louis. They're 500 this on the year at 59-59. Kind of living out the whole you win 60, you lose 60 kind of narrative. So it's going to be a big game for St. Louis, for at least the Padres' sake, tonight against Philadelphia and the rest of the week. Going into the weekend for both Philly and Arizona, Philly will take on the Twins this weekend. They're going to be doing that Field of Dreams game on Thursday. And the Arizona Diamondbacks, after having Thursday off this week, this weekend, Arizona will take on Atlanta. So the Padres could make up some ground over the weekend as long as they don't dig themselves in too big of a hole this week with Arizona playing Colorado. Padres will take on Cleveland next weekend, so that's a decent matchup. Cleveland's obviously battling not only for a wild card spot, but also still alive in the American League Central Division. But overall from yesterday, I think there was a lot to take away, but the big picture to me is this is a team that showed what they could be throughout the rest of the season. This is a team that won collectively as a group. And the Padres, say what you want about the American League. We all agree the American League's not very good, okay? The American League West is especially not very good. If the Padres were in the American League West, they'd be leading the division right now in the American League West. So take that for what it's worth. But the best record of the American League West was held by the Houston Astros, and the Padres were able to take 2 out of 3 from what is most likely going to be a playoff team, and I get it. They are a team that is in the American League. The American League is not as good as the National League, but the Padres just beat the American League West leader by using everybody on their roster yesterday. They had star production from their stars in Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill, both homered yesterday. They got secondary pieces to do very well. Freddie Fermin, if he does not leg out that single yesterday with 2 outs in the 4th inning, Fernando doesn't even get the opportunity to take the lead with 1 swing of the bat. Gavin Sheets is battling with plantar fasciitis, which is an incredibly painful and debilitating injury, and he hits a home run yesterday to help contribute to the Padres' cause. Austin Hayes, who got signed over the weekend, got his first at-bat in a Padres uniform, and he added 2 more runs with a 2-run homer. He's the first Padre to homer in his first appearance in a Padres uniform since Gavin Sheets did it last year on opening day. You got good production out of your starting pitcher and Randy Vasquez, who is now forcing the conversation for the starting rotation. Randy Vasquez did a solid job yesterday starting the game, and he has done it the last couple of times out, and it looks like he has made the adjustment he has needed to, and Ruben Diablo and company have done exactly what they needed to get the best out of Randy Vasquez, and he gave you an opportunity to win yesterday. The bullpen, Kyle Hart, Bradley Rodriguez, Jeremiah Estrada. You needed to give Adrian Morejon and Mason Miller some rest. You did it yesterday. You had Kyle Hart go in there and retire Yordan Alvarez. He had a clean inning when he pitched. Bradley Rodriguez did a great job. Jeremiah Estrada shut things down. Even when it wasn't necessarily your A or B squad relatively in the bullpen, they shut the Astros down in the second half of the game. Defensively, you look good. You had the depth pieces. And that's what makes the win more interesting than simply saying the Padres beat the Houston Astros. the Padres are starting to look like a team that can win in different ways. The question is whether this is a genuine transformation or simply just a really good stretch. Again, they've won 12 out of the last 16 games. But I thought yesterday was a great win. I thought it was a great way to cap off a very big weekend for San Diego and put themselves right there in striking distance for the wild card. The unfortunate thing is L.A. couldn't handle Arizona. You've actually climbed a little bit more into the division this weekend than you did in the wild card. Arizona and the Padres are starting to become the object and mirror are closer than they appear to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who have been struggling. Now, I don't really want to entertain that too much. The Padres are still, 8.5 games out of the division. The Diamondbacks are 7.5 games out, if I'm not mistaken, for the division. Interesting caveat, though. Arizona has won the season series over the Los Angeles Dodgers after the win yesterday. So they're only 7.5 games back. Padres 8.5 games back of the division. We'll see what happens this week with the Dodgers. That's not something I would really pay too close attention to. But unfortunately for the Padres, the Dodgers didn't really help them out this week. Or should I say this weekend against Arizona, and they get the Royals at home. So I would imagine that quickly changes. Tarek Skubal on the hill against the Kansas City Royals, probably not going to end well for Kansas City. So yesterday, I thought the big picture of yesterday's win was you got contributions out of everybody, which was great to see. So Padres found their power en route to a series win yesterday. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the winning ways. We're going to talk about the bullpen management that Craig Stammen had, why it led to victory. We're going to talk about what Freddie Fermin did as an unsung hero. And we're going to talk about Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill. Are Tatis and Merrill finally becoming the stars the Padres need? We'll answer that when we come back, because we're just getting started here on the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's Urban Sports Station, 97 through the Fan. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, setting us up on Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Talking Padres baseball after a big series win yesterday. Series win over the weekend between the Padres and the Houston Astros. Padres remain a game out of the wild card spot right now, but as I mentioned, in the last 16 games, they're 12-4 in their last 16 since we said that they were done. They've been able to overcome that. I like the moves that they made at the trade deadline, even though one game for both of Casey Mize and Robbie Ray hasn't been that great. I think they're going to be able to bounce back. We'll see what happens this week against Milwaukee. Let's talk more about what happened yesterday with the game in terms of the big reasons why they won. I mean, we could talk about Freddie Fermin. Freddie Fermin has been on a tear for the Padres. I mean, especially after his earlier struggles that he had this season, but he might have been the most underrated piece to the story yesterday because his infield hit in the fourth inning didn't look nearly as important as Fernando's 3-run homer, but Tatis yesterday in the postgame mentioned how important it was. I mean, Fermin busted his tail down the line to beat out a ground ball after Jeremy Pena had a difficult backhand play and jump throw, and with Fermin running that ball out, Tatis was able to come up, and then he hit a 3-run homer. I mean, that was the big moment that, was created by a little moment by Freddie Fermin. And Freddie Fermin has also done extremely well in a handful of games, but yesterday he went 2 for 4, He has hit safely in 6 straight games. He's got a .451 average since returning from the injured list, and he's 13 for 37 during that stretch. And there is a fascinating potential explanation for his earlier struggles. The Padres and their organization suspect that Fermin was affected by all those foul balls he was just getting hit by. The repeated foul balls off his mask, off his body, and a warm-up pitch that had hit him in the side of the head earlier in the year in Washington. He had a 152 average and a 520 OPS through July 2nd. They gave him the time off. He spent some time healing up, and now he's producing. Sometimes it's the little things that happen in the game that lead to some bigger events, and Freddie Fermin did it with his hustle in the infield hit. Other little things of Jackson Merrill answering Houston's 2-run homer with a home run of his own to make it a 2-1 game. Fernando obviously hitting that big home run. Vazquez keeping the game close after making the bad pitch to Dalton Varsho, and the bullpen finishing the game. I mean, that's a much more complete formula than simply just hitting a bunch of home runs, which they also did. And, Frank, I mean, you look at yesterday's game, they won in a lot of different ways, and they were able to do exactly what playoff teams do, and that is get contributions from everybody across the board. That's usually a sign of a really good team.
And you also had Gavin Sheets hit a home run as well yesterday, something that he's sorely been needing. So a great day for sure for the Padre offense as you get contributions from Fernando, again, with a big 3-run home run. Merrill goes deep back-to-back nights. Gavin Sheets gets a sorely needed home run. And then you have Austin Hayes, who gets signed earlier in the day, and now he's getting in on the action, a pinch hit opportunity. So a great night, especially on national television for the Padres as well.
Bullpen stepped up, too, and you didn't have your biggest arms. No Mason Miller, no Adrian Morejon. I mean, these are guys that probably needed another day off. And the bullpen management was actually a major win yesterday. I mean, it could get lost in the shuffle because of the fact that the Padres won 7-2, and they got that extra 2 runs from Austin Hayes, who just got picked up. But at 4-2, the Padres went to the bullpen, even though Vazquez had thrown only 62 pitches, and that allowed them to avoid using Adrian Morejon and Mason Miller when the offense stepped up and added on, as both needed some needed rest after the week in Arizona and, of course, the first couple of games against Houston. But Kyle Hart retired Yordan Alvarez to finish the 6th inning. Bradley Rodriguez threw 2 scoreless innings. Jeremiah Estrada finished the game. Bullpen produced 12 consecutive outs after Vasquez's final 10. And that's a big deal for this team. The Padres are going to need Morejon and Miller late in games throughout the rest of August, throughout all of September, and hopefully in October. So when you can save a couple bullets out of their arms and still be able to win, that's a big step for this bullpen. And I thought it started with Randy Vasquez, and we're going to talk about the starting rotation a little bit later in the show. But I thought the way the bullpen was managed and the bullpen stepping up and doing their job was great yesterday for the Padres. So as much as people want to get on Craig Stammen for using certain guys, I thought the bullpen stepped up yesterday in a big way to not only preserve the lead that they had, but also be able to give their back-end guys a nice little blow as they're in the mix of 16 games in 16 days. I know earlier you wanted to get Mason Miller a couple more opportunities because of the fact that, he hadn't been used a lot, but if you could save his arm every once in a while and get a victory, that's huge. And this bullpen did a great job yesterday for the Padres.
Yeah, I mean, and you got 4 perfect innings out of Hart, Rodriguez, and Estrada last night. And I believe I would have to count it up, but I believe the whole pitching staff as a staff together threw less than 100 pitches.
Yeah, they had like 97 pitches yesterday.
Yeah, so that was absolutely fantastic, which meant efficiency, getting guys out when they needed to, and not prolonging counts. You would love that as many times as you can get it. But great job from Hart. Bradley goes 2 innings, and Jeremiah Estrada strikes out 2 in the 9th inning.
And Randy Vasquez only gave up 2 hits. I mean, one of them, unfortunately, was a meatball down the heart of the plate. But, aside from the one bad pitch he threw to Dalton Varsho, he has been exceptional in his last couple of outings. I mean, he has really forced the narrative of, being part of this rotation. I think it gives a guy like Joe Musgrove a little bit of extra time, even though he wants to come back, and he did another good job yesterday in Reno for El Paso, and we'll talk about that later on. But, Randy Vasquez has made the adjustment that he needed to, and he's looking a lot more like the beginning of the season, Randy Vasquez, than he is in the middle month of the year. I mean, when he was giving up, 7 runs an outing. But if you look back to his last 6 outings, Randy Vasquez as is 2-0, the team is 4-2, and in his last 6 outings, he's got a 2.05 ERA with a 3.81 fielding independent pitching. He has done a phenomenal job. He doesn't have the high strikeout numbers, but he is doing what you need him to do as the number 5 starter. It's been pretty good watching him pitch. It's been cool to watch him pitch the last couple of times out. But, that's a huge pickup for the Padres in getting Randy Vasquez back to what they had him at the beginning of the season. And, he's just continuing to build off his last couple of outings. And if you just look at his last 3 outings, because these are kind of the last couple outings that he went deep into games, he's got a 1.47 ERA. I mean, he started the game against Miami on July 25th. He came into the game against San Francisco and had some bulk innings there where he went 4 2/3. He had the great start against Arizona this past week, and now another good start against Houston. I mean, again, his last 4 outings, the team is 3-1. He's 2-0, and in 18 1/3 innings pitched, he's got a 1.47 ERA. It seems like the Padres have really turned Randy Vasquez back around, and they did it at the right time.
Yeah, it's only 2 starts as of right now, but still, I mean, he is having a very good run, and he's turning back into that guy that we thought he was going to be back at the beginning of the season. The way he was pitching at the beginning of the season, he had a couple of good outings out of the bullpen after coming back off the IL, and now that he's gotten 2 starts under his belt, he's looking more and more back to normal.
Talking about a couple other things from yesterday before we dive into Tatis and Merrill finally becoming the stars that the Padres need. But Gavin Sheets is a very complicated roster conversation. He hit a home run Sunday, which was great to see. Love that from a guy that's probably in just excruciating pain. But That's after 31 games and 84 at-bats without one. But the larger story, of course, is his foot. He's dealing with plantar fasciitis and has been wearing a protective boot away from baseball. He's playing the field only once in two. He's only played the field once in 2 weeks. He's hitting 102 over his previous 24 games without an extra base hit during that stretch. He doesn't want to stop playing because his mindset is essentially this is what meaningful baseball in August, September is supposed to feel like. And, it's very admirable. But that creates a legitimate baseball question here is at what point does playing through an injury stop helping the team? I know he hit a home run yesterday, but the Padres need a healthy Gavin Sheets and not like simply an available Gavin Sheets. I don't know if the addition of Austin Hayes helps with this and you bring Gage Workman up, but I feel like, and again, he hit the home run. It's great. I mean, it's going to come down to is Gage Workman at potentially full strength better than a hampered Gavin Sheets, and that needs to be the conversation that they have, going forward. Now, obviously, they made that decision yesterday when they signed Austin Hayes and they sent Gage Workman down to AAA, but I wouldn't be surprised if Gage Workman, puts up some pretty decent numbers and Gavin Sheets continues to struggle, that they put Gavin Sheets on the injured list a little bit to just rest up his feet. I mean, I know they're only giving him a couple of starts a week, but it's hard to play with plantar fasciitis, and I don't know why you would continue to do that.
Yeah, now you have Austin Hayes. You also have Gage Workman that can come up and fill that role. So there are multiple people now that can play that role that Gavin Sheets currently occupies on this roster, where you wouldn't have necessarily wanted to leave that up every single day to Jace Bowen or leave that up every single day to Samad Taylor, even though he's playing really, really well. You have capable talent now that can fill that role if Gavin Sheets does end up going on the IL.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what they do with Samad Taylor coming back eventually. If they change that, but I would imagine. I feel like if you're gonna, if you're gonna use Gavin Sheets in the postseason, if you make it that far, or even late September, I'd rather have him miss like the next couple of weeks right now and try to rest up his he's never going to get back to full strength. This is a nagging injury. It's a long, prolonged injury. This is something that I think you looked up last week. If he has surgery, it's going to take
about 4 months,
a long time. I feel like it's probably best to try to keep him off his feet as much as possible and then utilize him, the last 2 weeks of September, maybe last 3, depending on where you're at in the standings, and hope that you could get the healthiest version of him via the postseason. I think the pickup of Austin Hayes helps with that a little bit. I mean, that's a big pickup that they got, yesterday. And I know it's just one at bat, but that was some serious swag. And talk about a guy that has had a pretty incredible story to get back to the big leagues. I mean, he signs with Chicago. He gets placed on the injured list with a longer calf injury, with Chicago. He goes on his rehab assignment, gets ready to come back to play, and then they just DFA him instead of bringing him back on the team. White Sox obviously have very young, controllable assets that are probably playing well enough for them to not need Austin Hayes, but the Padres him clearing waivers and the Padres picking him up. I think it's kind of huge right now. I really do. I think it's great for the Padres, and you could see how stoked he was to be back in the major leagues. I mean, you could be getting, I know it's only one at bat, but Austin Hayes could be like a little lightning in a bottle, for these last 2 months of the year, considering, he was hurt for most of this season.
Yeah, and AJ Cassavell had this yesterday from Elias that Austin Hayes became the 4th Padre to hit a pinch hit home run in his first at bat, with the previous one to do that being the guy
Gavin
who
Sheets.
he pinch hit for,
Right.
Gavin Sheets. So that was a very, very nice pickup, which is why, like I said, you don't really have too much of a problem if Gavin Sheets does go on the IL, because you have guys that can go and pick him up if he does in fact have to go, and you can bring Gage Workman right back up.
I like the Austin Hayes pickup. I think everybody likes it even more. They need a home run, but I mean, he rakes lefties. I mean, isn't that exactly what you were getting out of Miguel Andujar?
I completely forgot about Andujar.
Yeah, man, Miguel Andujar is expected to be back before the end of the season too. I mean, that could change things too. Maybe that's when Sheets goes on the injured list. We'll have other updates for you on the injury report, if you will. But when we come back, Fernando and Jackson Merrill. I mean, these are the guys that you invested in that are going to be your young stars of the future, and they're finally becoming the stars that the Padres need. Right at the right time. We'll talk more about Jackson and Fernando when we come back as we continue on the Braden Surprenant Show, Setting Zone Sports Station 97 through the Fan. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego's number one sports station. 97.3 The Fan, talking Padres baseball. A lot of Padres baseball to talk about here in the first couple of hours. We're going to get into some Aztec camp updates for you, the NFL as well. We got some big college football news that happened over the weekend. And then the meeting of the minds, the ones in power, are discussing college football playoff expansion ideas today and tomorrow. I'm sure none of it has to do with money. I'm sure it's all about what's the best for the game, right?
There's got to be like a doom sounder for that.
It's for the best of the game, right? Right? Insert the Star Wars meme with Anakin and Padme. Right? Right, it's for the best of the game, right? Not because not for television companies' money, right?
Oh, I know that.
Right?
I know the answer. Hold on. Unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not. Anyway. Got Little League World Series action on. This is called qualifying. It's in the regionals right now. So shout out to Sweetwater Valley. Little League. They destroyed Northern California.
Yes, they did.
It was like 16-4 or something like that. And their number one pitcher is now scheduled to potentially pitch in the championship game if they could get by Hawaii this week. So that's good news. I mean, Sweetwater Valley destroyed the Northern California team. But like out in the West Regional, it's mostly like it's Southern California and Hawaii are like the two best every time. Every once in a while, you get a Cody Bellinger on an Arizona team, and they become a team that can make it to Williamsport. But it's either SoCal or Hawaii more years than not. And then, because I'm watching, they got New York playing New Jersey right now. I mean, God bless these other regions that think that they got a chance every year outside the West. I mean, it's like, it's cool. I saw like they had a game, it was like Wisconsin and North Dakota were playing earlier today. To represent whatever region that is nowadays. And it's just like, yeah, it's a little bit different path for the SoCal school teams than anything else. But I just have to preface this with Little League World Series stuff. Every team that you see playing Williamsport has a special reason why they're there. Special rule, special reason. They usually got like a 14-year-old that's like Little League age 13 and barely makes the cutoff. Or you got a travel ball team that has played all together since they're like 5. And then this is the only year that they go play Little League just so they can be the all-star team. You know, there's a lot of shenanigans that happen with all the teams that make it that far. So this is not, I just want to just tell everybody, I think the Little League World Series is nonstop entertainment. But when you see the Little League World Series teams that make it to Williamsport, that's not like an all-star team from kids that are just from your neighborhood that play Little League. Like it's just not one of these teams is like that. Not one. It is must-watch TV though. I mean, these kids are just it's crazy. But like every team that makes it to Williamsport has some sort of special rule to make it there. Let's not like pretend like this is some little league team and Johnny just had a good year and got made it to All-Stars. Let's make that perfectly clear. before we start diving into Little League World Series stuff. That being said, I hope that Sweetwater Valley does well because it represents San Diego. But like the whole we're going to play travel ball because we're too good for Little League, which is fine. I understand. There's a lot of kids that play Little League that are doing it to have fun, and it's great. And there's a lot of kids that are extremely talented at their sport, and they probably need a little bit better competition. We don't need to get into the whole youth debate, again, of how much money it costs to play this travel ball and how a lot of it is kind of a scam. But aside the point.
I'll tell you this. It's not going to stop me from being extremely mad if this kid swings at this pitch.
3-0, guys even come close to the zone.
The kid from Bayonne has walked the last two guys. It's 3-0. Thank you. Oh my God, a little leaguer has more sense than most major leaguers. Thank you.
But anyway, the whole sense of we're too good to play Little League, but then as a travel ball team, we're all just going to play Little League 1 year, and it's just only to go to Williamsport. It's like, all right, guys, cool.
You got this kid from Bayonne on the ropes right now.
By the way, before we dive into more Padre stuff, you have to do it once because the chat keeps talking about it. They all think you sound like Batman. Can you please do it one time? Apparently not.
You got me laughing now. That's why I can't do it.
Everybody wants to hear it because, and Frank is a little under the weather, but not really. It's more he got dried out over the weekend, and so now he's suffering because of that. But
my CPAP machine betrayed me.
Everybody wants to hear you give your best Batman.
I'm Batman.
Oh, man, that was...
I live in the shadows. Justice. For Gotham. I need to go to the Batcave. Batman needs his supplies.
You are in between the Will Arnett version from the Lego movies and Christian Bale. That's kind of the middle here. It's acceptable. It's not the best, but
no, it's not the best. Be better if I had my normal voice. I guess I could actually change it.
True. Yeah, that's probably how painful was that to do. He is Lego Batman. That's exactly what it sounds like.
The yell for Gotham that was a little bit more difficult. Talking isn't great.
Frank is Timu Batman. You think darkness is your ally? I was molded by it.
You didn't get Lincoln Logs Batman. You got what was it? What was the knockoff Lincoln Logs?
Oh, I don't remember.
Anyone in it?
I don't remember. I had Lincoln Logs. Didn't have the knockoff ones. If I Google search knockoff Lincoln Logs, what's gonna come up? Wonder Toys?
Timu Bane.
Toy Logs?
Sure.
There's a video on YouTube that says how to tell real Lincoln Logs from fake ones. The things you can find on YouTube is really remarkable. Okay.
What are you doing, you...
Can you stop yelling at 12-year-olds?
No.
Are you rooting for New York in this, probably?
He got back. Oh, no, he didn't.
No, he's out. He's out. Their uniforms are sweet, though. That's kind of cool. All right, let's get to Fernando and Jackson Merrill. They're hitting their stride at the right time. They're doing it together, which is the best part. I mean, that's kind of one of the other big stories of yesterday's game for the Padres. Fernando and Jackson, they're hitting. And they're doing it at the same time. Merrill has an 11.27 OPS since July 19th, best in Major League Baseball over that span. Tatis has a 9.44 OPS during that same stretch. Both of them have over a 1,000 OPS since the All-Star break, as tweeted out by Sam Levitt earlier this morning. Since the All-Star break, Tatis 10.04 OPS. He has 6 homers in his last 21 games. Merrill has hit 6 homers in his last 20 games after his 2-homer homer game July 19th. Tatis's 3-run homer Sunday was exactly the type of impact the Padres need from him. Merrill's homer immediately after Houston took a 2-0 lead was equally important because it stopped the game from getting away from them early. It's always great to answer after that, but the important, larger part to this is what San Diego envisioned when these two became the faces of the franchise, two of the main faces of the franchise. Tatis doesn't have to have an MVP season every year. He doesn't have to be an MVP candidate every night. Merrill doesn't have to be one of the best hitters in baseball every night. But if they're both dangerous at the same time, this Padres team becomes fundamentally a different team. And we asked the question going to break, are Tatis and Merrill finally becoming the stars the Padres need? I think the answer to that right now is yes. This is exactly what the Padres' plan was going into the season when it came to what needed to change in the offseason. The big conversation, Frank, every time was our stars need a star, and you're seeing it from the young guys.
Yeah, you absolutely are. And now Fernando, like I said before, Merrill getting home runs in back-to-back games, hit a triple in the opener of the series as well. So to see these guys performing back at this level, the level that you know that they are capable of, is very, very encouraging, especially here in the late season run.
The good story, of course, is like Tatis's numbers. He was hitting only .238 with a .319 on base after 50 games. Then he simplified his mechanics, changed his stance. That produced a major stretch beginning May 24th, where he hit .366 and a .400 on base over 27 games. And then the biggest thing was, well, he doesn't have the power. He only hit 4 home runs over the next 40 games after his first homer May 30th. And the next adjustment was trying to get the ball in the air more. And now we're seeing the combination of contact, his on-base ability, and power. And, Tatis's homer Sunday left the bat at 111 miles an hour. His double was 108, and he has 86 balls in play of at least 105 miles an hour plus, which is the second most in Major League Baseball. And this isn't Tatis trying to figure out how to hit. This is him figuring out how to maximize the hitter he already is. And this is why, Frank, you and I said at the beginning of the year, when everybody wanted to trade him away, we had the conversation of, he's hitting the ball incredibly hard. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. And what it maybe took a little bit longer than you wanted to, Padres fans, but it is happening right now, and he is hitting absolute moonshots. I did see the report over the weekend. When you look at his stance over the years, and then you just go month to month, the 2 months that he was the worst, he had more of a closed-off stance than the open stance. He went back to going to his normal stance that he has had for the majority of his career, and all of a sudden he was hitting the living daylights out of the ball again. I think a big question is going to be why, and maybe we'll find this out one day, why in the world did he try to close off his stance for those 2 months? Sometimes you just got to go back to knowing who you is, as Tony Gwynn would say. Know who you is.
It's almost like Pete Rose was right. Don't change your swing ever. Just move around in the box. All these guys you're hearing, Fernando, Jackson especially, all I did was go back to what I've been doing. Oh, really?
Manny Machado going back to what he was doing.
It's almost like
there's a reason why you got here in the first place.
Exactly. It's almost like there was a reason you're a Major League Ball player, and it's because of your swing. So why would you ever change that, ever?
Mike Petriello had that tweet. He tweeted this out 15 hours ago, yesterday. He goes, one day we'll get the full story of why Fernando Tatis Jr. closed up his stance so much the first 2 months of the year before opening back up, which, by the way, since opening back up his stance, he has a 136 weighted runs created plus.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. That means he's 36% better than an average baseball player. If you look over his numbers in 2025, beginning of last year, he had 52-degree open stance. In May, it was 45 degrees. He's usually around the 36-degree mark, but all super open. 36 degree, 26, 29. That's for the last months of 2025. The beginning of 2026, March and April, 10-degree open. So it was a way more closed-off stance. In May, 15 degrees open. He opened his stance back to 36 degrees in June, and he has been on an absolute tear since he did it. He's been hitting more home runs and everything like that. So he's hitting it at the right time. He's doing a really good job. As for Jackson Merrill, this season's been fascinating because he struggled badly for a significant portion of it. He was at around 200 through the middle of June. The organization believed his attitude and energy remained relatively consistent, but there's an obvious truth to this. It's easier to bring energy when you're producing. Gavin Sheets describes Merrill as bringing a different level of energy when he's going well, and he's starting to do that right now. I mean, I think the beginning part of the season was really his sophomore slump since he missed a lot of last year. He has raised his OPS over 700 for the first time since April. He has 6 home runs in his last 20 games. He had only, he is one of only 4 MLB players with 18-plus home runs and 18 stolen bases this year. He doesn't have to be a 40-homer guy to be a franchise player. He is finally going back to the Jackson Merrill that we saw his rookie season. I think the league adjusted to him, and I think he has now adjusted back with what we have seen in the last couple of months of Jackson Merrill.
Yeah, that's part of being a Major League ball player, is figuring out what they figured out and then trying to figure out a way around it that still works for you. And it appears as though Jackson now has finally done that. And last year, again, he had such a start-stop season because of all the injuries that he had last year. This year, he hasn't had those injury issues, so he's been able to get regular playing time to be able to sort those issues out.
Fernando and Jackson at the right time. Padres added a major bat in Austin Hayes over the weekend. We talked briefly about it, but, there's a lot of benefits of bringing in Austin Hayes. And, I just think the White Sox didn't really have a spot for him, and I think a lot of teams at this point have solidified most of their rosters. And the thing is, it's like he's a guy that didn't really get a fair shake at the beginning because of his calf injury. He does a rehab assignment. Instead of he gets activated and immediately DFA'd by the White Sox. And, he hits a 2-run homer in his first game. Obviously, it's just one game, but the intended role for him is pretty clear. He is a veteran who has postseason experience. He rakes lefties. I mean, he's got an .822 career OPS against lefties, gives the Padres another potential complementary piece, and this is the exactly the type of low-cost addition that contenders hope can turn into something bigger. I think Austin Hayes represents the type of player A.J. Preller should be hunting for if you wanted to add pieces at this point in time. I think this is a very useful piece that can help solve some issues maybe for the Padres. He already got off to a great start. The interesting thing is his post-game interview with NBC yesterday after the game was he's been on A.J. Preller's radar for the last couple of years, and he admitted he felt like he probably should have came here originally. But you know what? He's here now, and I think he's going to be a big pickup for the Padres and a very underrated one as they continue this pennant chase in the last couple of months.
He said there were a couple times where he should have been here, but it fell through at the last minute. Now he's finally here, and it makes sense. That's been Preller's MO. He obsesses over guys, and he finds a way to get them.
When we come back, a lot of people compared this team to 2023. We're going to tell you why it's not the 2023 Padres in the 11 o'clock hour. Hour number 2 of the Braden Surprenant Show, broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant, talking a lot of Padres baseball here early in the show. We'll dive in a couple other sports a little bit later. At NFL training camp, we got Aztecs training camp. Getting ready for their first game against Portland State. We'll keep you updated on what's going on for San Diego State football. College football has a couple of important news. San Diego FC got a W over the weekend, huh? Able to knock off Tijuana Cholos last night. So they're 1-1 in the Leagues Cup, which is good. So they bounced back. I think that's a good showing for San Diego FC. We'll talk more about that in the 1 o'clock hour. And then the Brewers coming to town. The Padres are going to be throwing 2 of their 3. They're going to be throwing 2 of the 3 days are going to be their trade deadline pickups. Casey Mize goes tonight. We'll see if he has a bounce back out against Milwaukee coming up. We'll get you an NFL training camp update as well. So we got a lot to get to still here on the show, but we're talking about what's going on with the San Diego Padres, and I think they're in a really good spot. We're going to talk about how they compare to 2023 because I think we've heard those comparisons a lot this year. Kevin Acee pushed back on that today in his daily newsletter. But overall, Frank, from this weekend, I thought the team displayed the ability that they could potentially be throughout the rest of the year. And I think right now they're in a pretty good spot. I know they're not in a playoff spot yet, but they're within striking distance, and they've been playing some really good baseball.
Yeah, they have been. I mean, they've won, I forget what it is on MLB. Hold on. I think it's 7 of their last 10 or 8 of their last 10. They've won 7 of their last 10.
12 of the last 16.
Yeah, so they have been very, very good, very, very hot as of late. So I mean, you can only hope that this keeps up. They haven't had a sustained long hot streak like this yet this season. So to see this coming now, very, very encouraging, especially for the later stages of the season.
Let's talk about this comparison. I understand where it came from, right? At the beginning of the year, they were struggling. They hadn't really put everything together. Their stars weren't doing very well. The pitching was kind of carrying the team. And I think everybody was just waiting for the inevitable of this thing just running out of gas. Getting a famous quote from like Josh Hader going like, "We're in a playoff race." I could see where this was trending to.
Which still infuriates me because they were until that night. They were until
I tell you what,
they lost that game.
I think a lot of people... There's a lot of baseball players, Frank, that aren't actually that are not,
drives me nuts.
But they're not paying attention to that. I think we assume because we love the sport so much as fans and consumer of the sport that these players love the sport as much as we do. You have to remember a lot of these guys, they treat it like it's their job, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's they're in the right here, but what I'm saying is, just for comparisons, there are people that don't love their job, and that doesn't mean they're going to be excited for work every single day. Right. I mean, but there's, I think of what was his name? There's a tackle for the Chargers that could, he did not care whatsoever. They got him from Baltimore, right? He was there because he was big and he was good at it, and it was something to make money. I mean, just think about when your work asks you to do things, right? When work asks you to do things and go above and beyond sometimes, there's people that will do it that love what they do for a living. There's people like, no.
Go Aztecs saying Roman Oben. Is that who you're thinking of?
That's not who I'm thinking of. But I mean, you can go through a list. There's a lot of players. There's a lot of players that love the sport that they play. There's a lot of players that view it as a job. And there's a lot of players that just go like, I'm going to go out there and do my job, and I don't know what's going on. I mean, I had a buddy who knows somebody that pitches in the Giants organization, and when they were in a pennant race not too long ago, they had no idea where they were in the standings, and it was September. They're like, what do you mean? Like, the news to me, I don't know. They just really don't know what's going on. So
doesn't Oracle have the standings for the National League West up?
That doesn't mean they pay attention to it, nor do they care.
You see it accidentally, at least.
I know, but they have the flags. They have the flags up. They probably just think the flags are up. Like I said, there's guys that are super into it, and they're Jared Gaither. That's what his name was. There are guys that are super into it, and there's guys that are not. I mean, I don't want to say you can't blame them. I'm not saying they're like. I mean, there's people that probably, if you run your own company, there's people that probably do a good job that it's just a job for them. It's how people view certain things. You know, a lot of us are passionate about baseball. Like, that's why we're baseball fans, and so we're going to be into it. That doesn't mean everybody that plays baseball is into it.
I just don't understand how you can't I can't stand today's music. I'm not a big fan of it, but there are songs that when they come on, there's like, oh yeah, I've accidentally heard that before. Like there are things that you pick up without realizing it that you would think that if you look at the flags, you're like, oh, that one's below that one for today. I wonder why. Like, it's those little things you have to know. You don't have to care, but just notice something about the world around you.
Let's talk about that 2023 team and why this isn't the 2023 team. And I think a lot of people now that have seen this team play over the last 16 games, again, they're 12-4 in the last 16. What happened?
No, just the caller ID.
Oh, nice. The numbers really back up why this team's not the 2023 team. The 2026 Padres have already come back from a deficit of 2 or more runs 17 times. The 2023 Padres did it 8 times all season. Other important numbers to remember that Kevin Acee put out in his daily newsletter today. Padres are 5 games over 500 for the first time since June 27th. They have had 12 hits 8 times in the last 21 games. They had only 12 hits only 8 times in their first 98 games. They have had 32 comeback wins, which is tied for 5th most in Major League Baseball. Padres and Arizona are both 14-9 since the All-Star break. Philadelphia is 9-13 over that period. The 2023 Padres had enormous expectations and repeatedly failed to turn talent into consistent winning, whereas this team has been much more resilient. That doesn't guarantee a playoff berth, but it does suggest that the personality of this team is different. And I think the personality of this team is different. I said at the beginning of the year, I think this team is the closest that this clubhouse has been, at least since I've been covering this team, which is now it's almost been 10 years now. It just seems like a more tightly knit group. So, I think we're making I think we're making a mistake by assuming that this team will eventually implode like 2023, when in reality this team is not like 2023. 17 comeback wins from deficits of 2+ runs. 2023 only had 8. 32 comeback wins overall, 5 games over 500, a 14-9 stretch since the All-Star break. San Diego is not really, they're playing good baseball. And they're not just simply benefiting from everybody else collapsing. I think they did a little bit, and they made up some ground on Philadelphia because they have not been very good. But I think the Padres are consistently finding different ways to win. Now, none of this guarantees October. They're still fighting for that wild card spot. We have still seen during these 16 games some games in which the Padres offense have gone completely silent, but I think this team is a lot different than that 2023 team. And I just like the trajectory right now. The Padres, I come to this realization over the weekend, and I just feel like the Padres and Arizona are making the playoffs. The way that Philadelphia is playing right now, I think they're going to be the odd man out. I really do. And I know MLB Network was glazing them glazing them all weekend about how they're going to be able to turn this thing around. They just lost another 2 games, 2 out of 3 to Toronto. They needed extra innings to avoid getting swept at home by the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a team that I think is starting to show their age at this point in the season, and I think the Padres and the Diamondbacks are going to capitalize on it. Now, Philadelphia doesn't necessarily have the greatest schedules in the world in the second half of the season, but I look at this Phillies team, Frank, and they look like a team that's about to run out of gas. And I think they got a little bit of fool's gold with how they played against San Francisco and Colorado right after they fired their manager and their entire coaching staff. And since that point, they've been slowly on a decline. And honestly, if it wasn't for the Padres, the Phillies would probably be a couple of games out of a wild card spot right now.
Yeah, they're sitting 8.5 games out of first place now. They had that charge, but the lead that Atlanta built up at the beginning of the season is really starting to show now that it's going to be insurmountable.
Well, not only that, let's talk about the wild card. So they got 3 against St. Louis this week. Philadelphia does. They got 3 against the Twins. The Twins have been playing good ball. The Twins are playing for a playoff spot. They're playing for a division because they're not far out of the division, and they're playing for a wild card. I mean, the American League is wide open. Right now, the Twins are a game and a half out of a wild card spot. If you look at the division standings, the Twins are 4 games behind Chicago. I mean, they're still in the thick of things. They lost 2 games in a row over the weekend, which is not great. But that's going to be an interesting test because they're going to be playing at the MLB Field of Dreams on Thursday after they play against the Cardinals, and then they have Friday off, and then they got the Twins over the weekend. Then they got the Marlins, who have been scrappy. Marlins have been scrappy. They got St. Louis again, who is at 500. They got Seattle on the road, who I know hasn't been very good, but they're part of a pennant chase in the American League. They got a break with the Angels. Then they go to Arizona. I mean, that's that first week, that last game of August and the first 2 days of September, like the Labor Day weekend, part of the schedule. That's big for the Padres because Philly's got Arizona, Atlanta, Houston, Atlanta. They get a break with the Nats for 2 games and maybe the Mets. They got the Brewers and the Rays. The way the schedule plays out and the way Philadelphia is playing, I think Arizona and San Diego make the playoffs. I think Philly's out.
That would not surprise me at all. Arizona has remained relatively competent here over the last couple of weeks, so I don't see that as being too far-fetched, honestly.
I think Chicago can catch Milwaukee.
I've 100%.
They're 5.5 games back, which seems like a lot. I get that's a lot. But they've been playing incredible baseball right now. I think they could catch Milwaukee. And I right now, I think, Milwaukee's going to get – this is my prediction on today, which is not great.
They have a great chance.
They
have a great chance of plugging away at that, too, because the Brewers are here. Obviously, Padres are playing for a lot. Chicago's in Washington. So, they're in Washington starting tomorrow, so they can make up a game, potentially 2, with that.
I think this is my bold prediction for the playoffs. I think Chicago overtakes the Brewers in the division. I think Chicago gets a bye, too. They're going to be one of the top 2 teams, I think.
Well, right now, the Central holds the number 1 seed.
And that doesn't surprise me. I mean, the Dodgers have, they've been on a
Dodgers are playing in the first round.
Tailspin. We're in a world right now where the White Sox have a bye and the Dodgers don't in the playoffs because of how crazy the American League is. But as I look at the standings, I think the Cubs get the 1 seed because I think they're going to track down Milwaukee. I know the Dodgers are going to bounce back, but they got a comfortable lead over the Diamondbacks and the Padres still. But I think the Cubs get the 1 seed. I think the Dodgers get the 2. I think Atlanta gets the 3 because I don't think Atlanta is gonna stay where they're at. They've won 8 of the last 10. That's just fine. But we've seen the ups and downs of the Atlanta Braves. So I think it goes Chicago, L.A., Atlanta. I think Milwaukee gets the 4 because I don't think Arizona or the Padres will catch. I mean, the Cubs have a 6-game lead on Arizona, right? Like, I think they could track down Milwaukee, but I don't think the Central is going to lose the top wild card spot. So I got Milwaukee as the 4 seed, and then I think Arizona and San Diego are playing for the 5-6 the last weekend of the season here in San Diego. I don't think they're playing to get in. I think Philly's going to be out. The way that they've been playing, they got a run differential of 0 right now, which is their expected win-loss is 1 game over 500. And if you factor out, which I know you can't do, but you take away the 6 games they played against San Diego, you take away those games, the Phillies right now are 57 and 56. You take away the 6 games again for like the Padres against Philly.
I wouldn't even do that. I would just split it 3-3. So you're 60 and you're 60 and 59.
But if the Phillies don't play the Padres, who they got 6 wins against, I mean, they're a 500 team.
Yeah.
And you look at San Diego, they're 11 games above 500 without playing those Phillies games. I mean, that was just the one matchup that has propelled Philadelphia from being an average. They're an average baseball team. And they got the Padres number. Now, I think you could say the same thing about maybe the Padres in Seattle because they swept the season series. But, the Padres gifted Philadelphia this false sense of hope. And I think this false sense of them being good. I think the national media has given this team a false sense of being good. And I don't know where they're going to be able to handle. I don't know where they're going to be able to hold serve right now, just with the teams that they're losing the teams right now that aren't very good. And they're about to play a lot better of competition over the next, month and a half. I mean, you look at the series that they've had. Since the All-Star break, the Phillies lost the series to the Mets. They lost the series to the Dodgers. They lost the series to the Yankees. They got swept by Miami. They finally won a series against Baltimore. They took 3 out of 4 from Washington, thinking they got back on track, and then lost the series to Toronto. I mean, aside from Baltimore and Washington, this is a team that has lost every series since the All-Star break. And, there's a couple good teams mixed in there, but they have not been a good baseball team. I mean, they lost the series to the Royals this year. They didn't do well against the Pirates. I mean, the Phillies have good starting pitching, but their offense is almost non-existent because they're starting to age a little bit. I think Luis Arraez has been a little bit of a jolt for them. I don't see them surviving their stretch. That is my bold prediction for the playoffs as we continue. I think Philly's out. I don't think they make it. I really don't.
That would not surprise me in the slightest, honestly.
When we come back,
I still want to know how they got a Friday off this week. That's it. Oh, because of the
Field of Dreams game.
That's why.
Glad you can answer your own questions there.
Yep.
Do the Padres need to stop treating the 5th starter spot like a weakness? We'll explain when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, setting us over at Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. 3 from the Houston Astros over the weekend. Padres looking to try to continue that momentum against the Milwaukee Brewers tonight. Start of a 3-game series here against Milwaukee. I think it's going to be a little bit of a pipe dream, but the way the Cubs are playing, I think they have the ability to potentially catch and make up that 5.5 games with Milwaukee, which might put this series in a very big spot, more important spot than you thought it was. Just trying to win 2 out of 3 against a very talented Milwaukee Brewers team. We're going to talk more about that later on. Casey Mize getting the ball today against Logan Henderson. Kyle Harrison of the Brewers will take on Walker Buehler tomorrow, and Dustin May will take on Robbie Ray on Wednesday of this week to finish up the 3-game series against Milwaukee. Milwaukee has a 2-1 advantage in the season series after they took 2 out of 3 from the Padres earlier in the season. So we'll talk more about that later on in the show. I do want to get to this starting rotation spot, and then we're going to talk about Joe Musgrove and what he did over the weekend. But I think the starting rotation is starting to really settle in. And the way that Randy Vasquez has pitched in his last couple of outings has kind of forced the question about the starting rotation, about who's in it. And I think they have discovered, the Padres, something with their pitching flexibility. Randy Vasquez continues to make this complicated, which is not bad news for the Padres. Padres intentionally have one rotation spot technically open, which allows them to potentially manipulate matchups. But Randy Vasquez now pitched 3 consecutive outings like a guy who deserves to start and start again on a regular basis. Sunday, 5 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 62 pitches, retired his final 10 batters, and 11 of his 15 outs came via a ground ball, a pop fly, or a strikeout. He wasn't necessarily dominant, but he was effective, and that's what's important because the Padres don't necessarily need him to be an ace. They need him to keep games from getting away from them. Has Randy Vasquez earned the right to be treated like a legitimate member of the rotation like he was at the beginning of the season? Here's some notes to think about that. 3 straight outings where he's looked like a starter. 5 innings Sunday, 2 hits, no walks, 62 pitches, 10 straight retired to finish. Efficient enough that he could have continued, and the Padres are intentionally leaving that one rotation spot flexible. He's keeping them in games. He's limiting the damage. He gives them flexibility, and the Padres can still manipulate the matchups. In terms of why he wouldn't put him in the rotation, obviously, if you're looking for length, 5 innings is not necessarily enough, but there's not really a lot in your rotation right now that's giving you more than that. Postseason exposes rotation depth a little bit, but he would probably be a member of the bullpen. And if Pivetta and Musgrove return, the role can change anyway, but would you rather have a defined fifth starter or preserve the flexibility? To me, I think Randy Vasquez, Frank, has shown enough that he could be back in the starting rotation, and I think that helps you at this point in time with the way the next month goes. And I think it especially helps you before Joe Musgrove comes back, and if and when he comes back and how good he might be at the major league level, it gives you some options there. So I think it forces a difficult conversation, Randy Vasquez, the way that he has pitched, but I think it's a difficult conversation that ultimately helps the Padres. And I think Randy has pitched well enough to be a starter in the next 4 days after what he did yesterday.
Yeah, and you've also got the quality production out of Walker Buehler that you needed to solidify the back end of that rotation as well. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely, you shouldn't be piggybacking guys anymore. I think we've gotten to that point where piggybacking is done. I think pitching chaos is done, and you can focus on what you want to do getting towards the end of the season.
I think he is somebody that is going to be, he's going to have to give you some solid starts here the next couple of months. I really do. I think you're going to have to rely on him a little bit. Hopefully Casey Mize bounces back today. Hopefully you get Robbie Ray back to what he was before you acquired him. I think you get a mulligan for both Ray and for Casey Mize because of the fact that they're coming off of the trade deadline and everything like that. But I think Randy Vasquez has pitched well enough to get another start. And I think at this point, this is when he needs to put together. This is the time where you need to have him kind of start until Joe Musgrove comes back. And then when Musgrove comes back, maybe you move him back to the bullpen. But I like the way he pitched the last couple of days, or his last couple of outings. And I think this changes the starting pitching a little bit. I mean, you went from not having a starting rotation at all to now having like 6 to 7 guys be able to pitch. And we've talked about this a lot. That's what makes really good teams in Major League Baseball. The teams that usually go the distance have guys that can give you bulk innings, and you have multiple starters on the roster. And I think this conversation leads into a little bit of what to expect from Joe Musgrove. And, we'll talk more about it when we come back on the other side. But, Joe Musgrove went 3 1/3, allowing just 1 run on, with 6 hits. He did give up the home run, 2 strikeouts, no walks, threw 53 pitches, 42 for strikes. I mean, he's coming back, I would imagine, relatively soon. And we'll see what he's got in store for the Padres. And hopefully he could pitch somewhat close to what he was before he got hurt. But the way this is setting up, I think the starting rotation is showing that they could be a playoff caliber rotation and a playoff caliber bullpen. And I think the path for the Padres right now, after the win that they had yesterday, seeing that everybody is playing at and contributing to wins, this is a team that is playing like a playoff team. I don't think they're hitting their stride too early because they still got to play their way into the playoffs, because if the season ended today, they would not be in a playoff spot. But I think things are trending in the right direction for the Padres. And I think outside of what they can control, a lot of events are happening in a positive way as well. I think a lot of us are fixated on the on the Diamondbacks right now. And it might need to be a little bit more about the Phillies than the Diamondbacks, because I don't think the Phillies are going to have enough to make it to the end of the year. They got great starting pitching, but they got a tough schedule here in the next couple of weeks, and they have been struggling against bad teams. So I think the way the starting pitching lays out for the Padres, I think Randy Vasquez being a guy that help this rotation through the next couple of months. I mean, this is at this point right now, your starting pitching, Frank, needs to get you to the playoffs, and then you let your bullpen take over in the postseason.
Yep, and that's exactly what they've sorted themselves out to do. That's exactly what they have worked on. That's exactly what they have tried to figure out, and that's exactly what they addressed during the trade deadline. So they have done exactly what they needed to do in that case.
Absolutely. So I think it's positive news that Randy Vasquez is starting to turn things back around. I thought Kyle Hart did a really good job in relief as a left-hander, yesterday. I mean, the pitching staff is trending in the right direction. I think this is a good tester against Milwaukee and the Brewers right now that, they've been playing solid, but they haven't necessarily started to run away with their division. And they're getting some pressure from Chicago. The Chicago Cubs continue to put pressure on this Milwaukee Brewers team. And the best news is you don't have to face Mizorowski because he pitched yesterday. So you got a good opportunity here to potentially even the series with Milwaukee. And I think this is a very important series for the Padres. I mean, every series from here on out is relatively important. But if they can have a 4-2 homestand going against the Astros and the Brewers, the Padres are even in better shape. So the good news is Randy Vasquez is forcing the issue for the Padres in terms of the starting rotation and pitching well enough to get another start. And what else is forcing the issue? Well, just how close Joe Musgrove might be to returning to this team. When we come back, we'll talk about what Joe did over the weekend for El Paso against Reno, and let you know how close he might be before joining this Padres team again. We'll do that on the other side. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. Baseball coverage on 97 through the Fan, presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi. One price, 5 years guaranteed. Xfinity, imagine that. He's Frank Marchese, feeling a little under the weather. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, setting us over at Sports Station 97 through the Fan. To make it worse, New York lost to New Jersey in the Little League region. They're still alive, though. They can just go to the losers bracket.
Yes, they do. They play Connecticut, I think.
Live looking, Indiana, Michigan. How about that?
How about it?
How about it? West Region, San Diego's team, Sweetwater Valley, got a huge win yesterday, 16-4. They will now play Hawaii in the bracket. I got to look the exact date because I don't know off the top of my head. Let's see. SoCal won. They beat Northern California. They will play Tuesday at 6:30 on ESPN. So Tuesday at 6:30, you will see Southern California taking on Hawaii, and the winner will go to the championship game on Friday, August 14th, which will also be on ESPN. Take that for what it's worth. SoCal won 16-4. Hawaii beat Arizona 7-3. Northern California and Arizona will play.
Foul. No, 2 fouls.
Except for our Juan saying you are like a New Jersey guy. Why? Because he's Italian? That's kind of messed up. No, just because Frank looks like a character from The Sopranos doesn't mean he's from New Jersey, man. That's kind of a little messed up.
That's just flat wrong, Juan. I thought we were better than that.
Don't kick a man while he's down. Let's talk about how Joe Musgrove did over the weekend. He took a legitimate step, another legitimate step towards returning. He made his second rehab appearance on Sunday, this time for AAA El Paso and Reno. Went 3 1/3, 1 run, 6 hits, 2 strikeouts, no walks, threw 53 pitches, 42 for strikes. The stat line isn't particularly important. The bigger takeaway was Musgrove looked healthy and strong across nearly 4 innings, which is the good news. And that's significant because this isn't just a pitcher trying to get his arm back after a minor injury. I mean, he's coming back from Tommy John surgery. His original timeline was pushed back after a setback following his lone spring training appearance. The most important number yesterday wasn't 53 pitches. It was the fact that Musgrove got through the outing without an obvious physical issue. And, this is the first time you can legitimately start talking about Musgrove helping the 2026 Padres.
Did you see his numbers there?
What do you mean?
53 pitches, 42 strikes. That's insane.
A lot more efficient.
That's incredible for Musgrove.
That's all good news. I know he gave up a home run. Who cares? I mean, the stat line is not what really matters here. But this is the first time you can legitimately start talking about Musgrove helping the Padres in 2026. You needed to see him in a rehab assignment. You needed to see him in a couple, not have any setbacks. It doesn't sound like he has had any setbacks. And according to A.J. Cassaville yesterday, I mean, he could potentially return later this month. Now, that doesn't definitely mean, he's absolutely pitching in a Padres game later this month. I mean, the next step is expected to be another rehab outing with an increased pitch count. But, the timeline has moved from maybe Joe Musgrove can return to Joe Musgrove is actually progressing through a rehab assignment. And that's a major distinction. Craig Stammen called seeing Musgrove on the mound a sight for sore eyes, and he said he's getting closer every day, which I think is great news for the Padres and great news for Joe Musgrove, especially the journey that he has had. And they don't need necessarily Joe to be old Joe Musgrove immediately. Before surgery, he had a 3.20 ERA across 4 seasons with San Diego. But when he returns, you kind of need him to go 4 or 5 innings, maybe. Maybe eventually by his 3rd start, he could go 6 innings. You're not going to see a lot of high pitch counts. Probably you're going to see a very carefully managed workload, and that's okay. I mean, Joe Musgrove has, he doesn't have to become their ace immediately. He just needs to be a successful starter for this kind of push. And, the Padres adding Casey Mize and Robbie Ray at the trade deadline, that kind of eases some of the mind for Joe, I think. And he mentioned that when meeting with the media, that it doesn't ease, maybe his internal clock to try to get back, but it definitely, I think, eases some of the pressure a little bit. And that means that Joe Musgrove doesn't have to be rushed. So you could think about a rotation now that adds Joe to it. You got Robbie Ray, you got Casey Mize, Walker Buehler, Michael King, maybe Randy Vasquez. We talked about Randy in the last segment. That really opens up the door for this Padres starting rotation to be more than good enough to make it through the end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely, especially if you can get Musgrove back and maybe you can piggyback him with Randy Vasquez or you can piggyback him with Walker Buehler or something like that. I mean, get Walker Buehler through the lineup one time, go 3 innings, and then maybe Musgrove can go 3 innings as well. I mean, that's solid way to get through a game.
And I think Joe Musgrove changes the ceiling potentially with this team. And I thought that they'd get one of these guys back. I thought it was going to be Joe, more so than Pivetta. We will see what happens with Nick Pivetta, but you could do a lot of different things. I mean, maybe you piggyback Joe and Vasquez. I would almost trust Joe coming out of the bullpen more than I trust Vasquez, but you could have Vasquez go a couple innings, have Joe Musgrove go a couple innings, and you eat up most of the day that day and most of the innings that day. So I think it increases the Padres' playoff chances. I think it helps them in the postseason. I think it raises the ceiling for the Padres when it comes to the postseason. And this was all kind of like, if he comes back, we hope he comes back. But now, after a couple of rehab assignments, and I'm sure he'll get, maybe, definitely one more, maybe 2, it's becoming more and more like a reality. And I think that's good news for not only the Padres, but I think it's great for Joe, who has had to battle through this. And it's been tough for him to watch these guys play and not be a part of it. He mentioned how important and how fun it is to pitch in the postseason. I know he wants to be a part of that. And it's something to watch here over the next couple of weeks of how he continues to progress. But I thought he really built off of his first outing in Lake Elsinore. Seemed like he looked pretty good yesterday for El Paso. And I think this is great news for Joe, the Padres, and Padres fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see what he can do when he does come back.
And hopefully that's at the end of the month. We're going to take a little bit of break from the Padres, but we do need to get to what's going on in the sports world. See if Frank Marchese can put together us a nice little sports thread.
You know that group chat? The one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
All right, Frank, what's going on in the sports world today?
We're going to be focusing mostly on Major League Baseball and the NFL as well. In this
Number 1.
And we'll start with the NFL as Teddy Bridgewater has stepped away from the Detroit Lions during training camp and has been placed on the reserve/retired list. The 33-year-old quarterback had returned to Detroit this offseason to serve as Jared Goff's backup, but head coach Dan Campbell believes this retirement could finally be permanent. Bridgewater was valued as much for his leadership and mentorship as his playing ability, making the departure a significant loss for the Lions locker room. Detroit has already moved to replace him, signing veteran Joshua Dobbs to a 1-year deal. How important is a veteran backup quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater to a Super Bowl contender, or should the Lions be concerned about losing his leadership, even if their quarterback depth remains intact?
I think it's a I think it's a decent loss in terms of like him being able to help out the quarterback room. It's always great to have veterans in there. It's always great to have guys with experience, kind of a second coach. It's also nice to have a veteran backup that could go in just in case late in the season or anywhere time through. It's a good insurance policy, I think. So I think it's a tough loss for the Lions. I think overall it's not going to impact whether or not they make the playoffs. It's just kind of losing an insurance policy and kind of an extra coach in that room, if you will, with the experience that Teddy Bridgewater has, not only as a player but also as a coach. I mean, he was a head coach for high school football before the school district screwed that up down there in Florida, which is no surprise. Most school districts kind of do that. Anyway, but I digress on things run by the state. But Teddy Bridgewater, I think, will be it's a tough blow for the Lions, just because from an experience and a insurance policy.
All right.
Number 2.
Atlanta Braves ace Chris Sale was ejected before Sunday's game against the Yankees even began, after apparently continuing to voice his frustration over a controversial balk call from the previous day. Sale had been furious after the balk allowed a run to score, with manager Walt Weiss also getting ejected during the argument. Despite the drama, Atlanta bounced back to a 2-1 victory, while Sale remains one of the best pitchers in baseball this season with a 12-7 record and a 2.20 ERA. Was Chris Sale right to carry his frustration into the next game, or does an ace need to put controversial umpiring calls behind him and avoid potentially putting his team at a disadvantage?
It's incredibly selfish. I mean, at that point, it's just a selfish move. I mean, if you want to do that on one of your days that you're not pitching and just like go home early, I guess there's nothing wrong with that. But if that's the case, you shouldn't have to have your manager go out there and help you out. I don't think you would need. I mean, at that point, like, once you're costing your manager from being part of the game, for your own little for your own little justification of something to just get back at a umpire, I think it's kind of a joke, if you will. I don't think it also shows you like just how important managers are. They didn't even miss a beat. It is what it is. So I think it's an incredible selfish behavior. If you're willing to do that, like, good for you, I guess. But and eventually, it's just like, just move on. I mean, you're a professional athlete, and just move on. It's not going to do anything. It doesn't do anything except for, like, what does it give you peace of mind that you yelled at the guys, like, for the balk? I mean, who cares? You got to play you got to play these games all the time. It's just, I mean, be angry all you want. It's still a balk, and none of that's going to change. It's like it really accomplishes nothing unless he just didn't want to watch the game in the dugout. It's hot. I'm going to sit in the clubhouse.
Oh, there you go.
Number 3.
Washington took a major hit in training camp, with left tackle Laramie Tunsil suffering a torn tricep that is expected to require surgery. The 5-time Pro Bowler is likely to miss at least a significant portion of the regular season, with recovery potentially taking 4 to 7 months. Tunsil was more than just an elite pass protector. Washington made him the NFL's first offensive lineman to receive a contract averaging $30 million per season, and the team is counting on him to protect his quarterback and help stabilize an offense trying to return to its 2024 form. How much does losing an elite left tackle like Laramie Tunsil change Washington's expectations for this season, and should the Commanders now be looking outside the organization for a replacement?
Well, they got to go find some depth. You could move some offensive linemen around, in the meantime, and that's probably what they're going to do. This is why you want to rep your offensive linemen in different spots all the time. So when things like this happen, they still have the experience working together as a unit. So they're gonna have to go find some help, obviously, to help add some depth to this organization. It definitely affects their outcome. I mean, losing linemen is catastrophically bad. Catastrophically bad, especially your left tackle and your center. Those are like the two positions that it's extremely important to get those right. I definitely think it puts them behind the 8 ball a little bit for this season. Is it something that they can overcome? Yeah, it's something they can overcome, but they're going to have to add some depth, and their offensive line loses a huge player in this case, and it makes it difficult for teams to come back from. You're going to have to find lightning in a bottle on whoever's left, or hope that some linemen are, some teams have a lot of depth at line, and those are the guys that don't make their teams. But at least it's happening now and not later in camp. You have some time to adjust and help fix this problem.
Number 4.
At 73 years old, longtime Philly fan Lewis Caleb finally got a chance to call a Major League Baseball game. After decades of doing play-by-play for youth and recreational sports, Kolb, my bad. Kolb won a Phillies charity auction for the opportunity to join the radio booth for one inning, paying $22,000 for the experience. What made the moment special was that Kolb wasn't simply a fan getting a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He actually had years of broadcasting experience, impressing the Phillies' regular broadcasters with his smooth delivery. Now he can legitimately say he was a big league announcer for the Philadelphia Phillies. What is a dream or bucket list item in sports that would be worth paying a lot of money for you to experience just once?
That's interesting. Being Akron's offensive coordinator?
$75.
I don't. Probably playing the Masters.
Really?
It would just be fun to play once. It'd be fun to
play
go
in
there
the
once.
play in the Masters or play on Augusta.
Either. Probably play on Augusta so I don't embarrass myself playing the Masters. I think that'd be probably the best thing. Being an athlete for the day, we're blessed to be able to do some cool broadcasting things in our job, but that experience the trade deadline as a general manager, there's probably a lot on that list. We're 2 hours in. We got 2 hours to go. When we come back, talk more Padres baseball. Ethan Salas update. 7 hour on the fan. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Great weekend in sports, according to Clay in the South Bay in our YouTube chat, and that is correct. Absolutely. Do give a shout out to the Alpine Athletic SC girls under 14. They won the Oceanside SoCal Classic soccer tournament over the weekend. 16 goals for, 2 against. Fridge Watcher in the YouTube chat, his daughter on that team, crushed it, they said. So shout out to them. Shout out to Sweetwater Valley Little League for getting a big win yesterday in the Little League World Series chase, if you will. They are now 2 wins away from going to Williamsport. So some good youth sports on the horizon. High school football scrimmages are this week. Next week is week 0, and we're ready to start high school football here all over Southern California. We will keep you updated on that over the next couple of weeks or so, and once the season starts, we'll have updates for you on that on this show. So we do talk about a lot of local teams here, but we talked a little bit about Joe Musgrove and his rehab assignment from over the weekend. There was a couple other things in the minor leagues that are very important to discuss. Dennis Lin, who covers the Padres for The Athletic, was on the morning show this morning, as he does each and every Monday, talking a lot of Padres baseball. He was asked about a couple of things that involved AAA El Paso. The first thing he was asked about this that we're going to play for you is how Ethan Salas has done in AAA. And, like, what a timetable would be for him to make it to the big leagues. And the interesting thing about it is if you watched any of the games this week for El Paso against Reno, and this is how the minor league works, right? I mean, you play one team for an entire week, Tuesday through Sunday. You have Mondays off. But the broadcast for minor league sports, specifically minor league baseball, the home team has the TV version of it or the streaming version. And then, the road team's stuff is just used for their radio in their local town. So this weekend, this past week, if you watched Ethan Salas play for the Chihuahuas, you heard the play-by-play voice of the Reno Aces talk about how far along Ethan Salas is and how much they should pull. They already got to pull this kid up, and how the bat has come along with how elite his fielding is. So the question became to Dennis Lin is the timetable about Ethan Salas joining the big leagues. Is it even possible that he could be with this team at some point this season? Here's what Dennis Lin had to say.
100%. I would see them considering it. I don't know about it being a lock, but I think there's a very good chance they'll be up in September and even maybe before then, because let's remember, if you want to have a player eligible for the playoffs, they need to be on the 40-man before September. So I think they're looking at it. He's only, one call away or one step away from the majors. They promoted him, just a couple weeks ago. And not unsurprisingly, his offensive stats have instantly ticked up in the PCL, which is probably a nice confidence boost for him. I will say, I think, blocking pitches remains a challenge for him. You don't want a 20-year-old in the majors in a playoff race, committing pass balls. But I think, with them already having 3 other catchers on the 40-man roster and 2 on the active roster for right now, that wouldn't be that they could probably pick and choose spots for him to catch guys if they are going to call him up in the near future. But I think, this is Adrian Preller and the Padres we're talking about. I think there is a very good chance that he's up in September, if not before.
I thought a couple of months ago that there was an opportunity for him to potentially be one of the extra call-ups, because your roster does expand to 28 members of the roster when you get to September. The catching position for the Padres has been on a tear. We talked about Freddie Fermin. Another 2-for-4 day yesterday. He has been electric after coming off of the injured list after multiple, shots that he has taken back there behind the dish. Luis Camposano's been great. The catching position for the Padres has actually been the most productive catching group of Major League Baseball in the last month or so. They have been fantastic. So do you need that extra spark at catcher? I don't necessarily know if you do or don't. At this point, I think Ethan Salas has already experienced the overcoming failure in his career. I don't think you can necessarily, guarantee that that's always going to be the case. But I think the first tester of it, of him missing all of last year and battling through as a young player and having some setbacks, I think is the adversity that you want to see these guys go through. And I think he's been able to overcome that, obviously, with the season that he's having this year. So I don't think it's going to hurt him if they do bring him up. I think Dennis brings up a good point about the catching situation. You're going to carry 3 catchers just to have Ethan Salas on the team. I mean, I guess you could, but maybe you have Camposano as a DH and you let Freddie Fermin and Ethan Salas catch. I mean, if you really want to give him a chance, I don't think they need to bring him up in the next month or so. But at this point, with how fast that they have moved him up the minor league system, and they were going to move him up earlier in AAA if it wasn't for a little bit of a setback with an oblique, it wouldn't surprise me, Frank, if he is with the Padres in September. I don't necessarily think that's I don't think that's the absolute they have to do this, but just how the Padres operate, it would not surprise me.
You do run the risk of hampering a guy's development if you leave him down in the minor leagues for too long. That's for years. If you leave him down for a year or too long, you could definitely hamper his development. It's an indictment on the catching. It's an indictment on the Major League catching to have a third catcher up on the roster. That means your catching core is not getting it done. At this, I do not want to see Ethan Salas in the Major League level this year. The catchers have been fine. If you keep him down in the minor leagues for an extra month, that's not going to hurt him. Have him make the opening day roster next year. That's fantastic. I wouldn't change a thing with how this starting catcher position is going right now. You can bring up Gage Workman. You can bring up Samad Taylor when he gets back from injury. You're going to have Miguel Andujar back at some point. You don't need a third catcher on the roster right now. There's no need for it.
I don't think it has anything to do with the catching situation. I think it would have to do with getting your best players up as quickly as possible, and that's just kind of the philosophy that this Padres team has had. And I think that he could bring something maybe he might be able to bring something more defensively than Luis Camposano with how relatively poor Campy's been behind the dish. But I don't at this point, like if this team is all in on trying to make and win the playoffs, if you believe that Ethan Salas can help you win a World Series this year, I think you have to bring him up. If that is the case. If you don't think that's the case, then you don't bring him up, and you don't want to worry about like potentially hampering development. The whole point of development is they got to learn in the minor leagues, can they overcome failure at some point? And that's usually the guys that do the best as they come up, is overcoming failure at the AA level or at the AAA level. I mean, and fighting through adversity. I think this kid has gone through a lot of that. I think that's going to be up to the Padres organization if they believe he's gone through enough. It's never really like a talent thing. I mean, very quickly if guys are talented enough to be at the big league level eventually. He is playing above his years. He's way younger than everybody in AAA. He's way younger than, he was way younger than everybody in AA. And I don't think, I think we have passed the point of affecting his development. This is a very mature young man that I don't think is going to be fazed by a little bit of failure in the big leagues, because I think he has experienced that a little bit in the minor leagues with the injuries and being set back a couple of times. I think that plays into the Padres potentially bringing him up. As of right now, I would like to see him at the big league level. I don't think they need him. And I don't think he necessarily adds to them winning a World Series if he does come up. But knowing what the Padres have done in the past, it would not surprise me if they brought him up as part of the September call-ups. Now, it also wouldn't surprise me if they bring up like Gage Workman and bring up another one of the players that they have right there ready to go, especially with guys like, I mean, at this point, I mean, you're going to get Miguel Andujar back at some point. Samad Taylor should be coming back soon. There are some guys on the roster that might have to get sent down or you put on the injured list. You know, that those players could be probably part of the equation for the 2 extra guys in September. That might be a little bit more beneficial than Ethan Salas. The other thing, and a reason why I wouldn't do it, I wouldn't do it more so for why start his clock for the final month of the year. That to me is more important than I don't think you're going to royally screw this kid up. I really don't. By bringing him up to the major leagues, I think he has shown that he's mature enough to handle a lot of challenges. They have challenged him a ton. I think that is a major factor in this conversation. I view it as why start his clock early and make you force a decision earlier on, keeping him part of the organization long term. I would think about it more of a financial situation more so than anything else, if that was the case. So if you want to bring him up and you're willing to, if he's good enough to help you win and you're willing to start his clock, then go for it. But I don't necessarily think that's the case with Ethan Salas. I wouldn't be surprised though if they brought him up. The other thing that Dennis Lynn was asked about from Ben Higgins on the morning show, Ben and Woods, was the situation with Nick Pivetta and that August 22nd deadline when it comes to the contract that Nick Pivetta has. Again, for anybody that doesn't know, Nick Pivetta has to be back on the roster at the major league level by August 22nd. Otherwise, his ability to opt in or out of the contract that he has with the Padres is no longer his choice. It is the Padres' choice, which I find to be very significant. And I think Nick Pivetta knows that's very significant. So this answer from Dennis Lynn starts with the question from Ben Higgins about this situation, and I think it's a very interesting topic of discussion. Here's Ben.
Obviously, he wants to keep the player option. That's good for him. But what do you think is the Padres thinking on this? They need pitching next year.
Right.
Are they hoping to get out from under Nick Pivetta? Are they hoping to lock him in? I mean, a few months ago, I would have said Nick's going to want to opt out and get a big payday. Now, with the injury status, maybe he wants to opt in. Maybe the Padres want to opt out, or maybe they want to opt him in at $14 million. Is not a lot if you get a productive starting pitcher. Where do you think everybody's mind is on this going into next season if the Padres do end up having a decision to make at the end of the season?
You know, if his elbow is compromised, and there seems like it's a good chance it is. I think that the team would much prefer to just get out of it, even though starting pitching is really expensive. I think the player option for this coming year, 27, is $14 million, and then another $18 million in 2028. Number one, let's see if there is a season next year. But I think all things being equal, the Padres would like to have him back if he's healthy. I mean, that's a big if, right? Clearly, he's not fully healthy, and if there's a possibility, it seems like that he's going to need surgery in the relatively near future. That might wipe out his entire next season. You know, whether there is an MLB season or not. So I think the team would prefer to get out from under it. The one thing is maybe there's a scenario here where he just takes his time. He comes back after that deadline, and he proves he's okay to finish out the season, and then maybe you take that chance on him and pick up the team option in that case. But I mean, that's just a lot to risk on a pitcher with a clear injury history here. So I think at this point, you know, Nick would obviously like to have those player options. That's, you know, nothing against him. You know, that's part of his right, contractually negotiated right. And I think the Padres would most likely prefer to get out of it, but we'll have to see how his arm responds over the next week or two before I think that the dust really settles on it, because still, you know, starting pitching is going to be really expensive, and the Padres don't have a lot of it next year.
It's an interesting topic of discussion, obviously, and I think they can go either way on this. If this is like his experience he had with this injury before, I think he was in Boston, And he ended up coming back after a couple of months of being off. And this is what the Padres knew about before they signed the deal. That's why this contract that they signed Nick Pivetta to has this clause. If they believe that his elbow is not structurally damaged, then if he doesn't come back in time, you pick this option up because if you think he could make it through, just that his elbow's not compromised, you give for $14 million next year, which is not bad. Now, if you think at any point in time, or based on the medicals and what you're dealing with right now, he's going to miss a significant amount of time or get surgery, there is no reason to bring back Nick Pivetta because you're going to pay him $14 million for next year to rehab, and then you're going to pay $18 million for him to be in his season after Tommy John surgery, assuming things go well. I mean, what happens if it takes him as long as we've seen some other guys with Tommy John surgery come back? Is that worth $18 million? I mean, he's not going to be full, and I'm not saying this is what he needs, but I think worst case scenario would be Tommy John surgery. Are you willing to take that risk? I think it's an interesting topic of discussion. I don't really see Nick Pivetta coming back next year if he doesn't pitch before August 22nd. I don't care how good I don't care how good his elbow might feel, or maybe it wasn't that big of a deal or what have you. But, considering how much, the Padres have available to spend, considering how much they need starting pitching and how valuable $14 million would be for a starting pitcher, you have to almost guarantee and talk with your doctors over there with the Padres, you would have to know that he could pitch next year. Because you cannot pay him $14 million to rehab and then hope for the best for $18 million a year after. To me, Frank, that's not worth the risk.
No shot. I'm sorry. That's one of those where you really want to try to get out from under this. I think this is one of those issues for Nick Pivetta where it might benefit you, and I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest if that August 22nd deadline comes and goes. If that is the case, I wouldn't be surprised if he announces that he has some sort of surgery if he needs it, because at that point, you're not really fighting for anything anymore. You're not really fighting for that option because you've already lost it. So at that point, you just do what needs to be done, wait on next season and see what happens.
And I agree. For with Augie in the YouTube chat, for $32 million over the next 2 seasons, you can find somebody that actually will be healthy to pitch, right? So it's interesting to see. We're getting closer to that day. I mean, we are 12 days out from August 22nd. And based on the fact that his rehab assignment has been paused, who knows if he's going to, there was a rumor that he might go after it again on Tuesday. Well, we'll wait to hear an update on that. It's going to be hard for him to be back with the major league team within 12 days. It's almost impossible at this point. Almost impossible. When we come back, we do want to dive into some football stuff. I do want to mention the Padres offense. I mean, for everybody that said this team is the worst offense in baseball, they have made a drastic change. I'll take a look at some of the numbers when we come back as well. The Braden Surprenant Show, Setting Us Sports Station 97 to the Fan. 12:25 on a Monday. Padres and Brewers later on tonight. Start of a 3-game series. Casey Mize gets the ball. We'll see if he bounces back from his outing last week against Arizona. We want to talk more about Padres baseball here. We also want to get into what happened over the weekend with Congress failing to get a vote off for the Protect College Sports Act. We'll see how that plays out. Sounds like they're going to put a vote for September when they're all worried about midterms and stuff like that. So we'll get to that in a second. But we did have some other college football news for you that we want to get to as well. Today, the college football playoff media consultants are expected to present more data to inform decisions, including outlining the schedule of potential additional rounds and games and the value of those games when it comes to the college football playoff. The college football playoff executives are scheduled to meet virtually today and tomorrow to explore expansion. Leaders continue to focus on 16 and 24 team models with growing momentum for a larger field. This is a report from Ross Dellinger on Twitter. He covers college football for Yahoo Sports. No decision is expected, and a debate is likely to continue into the fall. I will address the ESPN, who is the rights holder for the playoff, is, according to Ross Dellinger, socializing with college football playoff leaders a 16-team format with 4 play-in games, so the final 4 spots into the field, seeds 13 to the 16. There's an expectation that it will be discussed during today's meeting. All you need to know about this is ESPN's got the contract for the college football playoff. Allegedly, according to sources, it sounds like ESPN might have to renegotiate with the college football playoff if it expands more than 16 teams, and you wonder why ESPN is pushing for 16 teams in the college football playoff.
If I'm anyone in college football, I'm sitting there looking at ESPN trying to sway these conferences and saying, go over there, television boy. Like, you have no bearing on this conversation at all. I'm sorry if you need to renegotiate your television rights deal, but we're not bending to the will of television. But we all know that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah, the other report was the 20-team college football playoff model. This is from B. Marcello. A 16-team field with 4 play-in games was developed by ESPN, and details were shared with a few conference executives last week. Sources told CBS Sports over the weekend. It wasn't on the agenda for today's meeting as of Sunday, but it's expected to come up. ESPN's Heather Dinich just trying to talk up the format of the 16 with the play-in games. I mean, because if it's still 16 teams, they get to keep the contract. Fox, which owns most of the rights of the Big Ten, they want some of the action. And they can only get part of the action if they expand to it, more than 16. That's why the Big Ten continues to push for 24 teams, and they're not interested in the 16-team thing. So TV markets and TV companies are pushing stuff for college football. It's not actually college football pushing for what they need and what's the best for college football. In what world does that make any sense? But here we are in this world of TV market and TV revenue and everything like that, where organizations that own the media rights are making the decisions on what is best for college football. But it's not what's best for college football. It's what's best for the media conglomerates, this is why you need this is why you need to put somebody in charge of college football for situations like this. It's ridiculous. All right, I do want to mention this for the Padres before we go to break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the Aztecs from over the weekend. They had some more camp days. They're getting closer to kickoff against Portland State. We talked about this team as a whole, right? This Padres team offensively. And when you look at their numbers from the beginning part of the season, I mean, and let's just go to like the trade deadline. I mean, not the trade deadline, sorry, the All-Star break. The Padres, up until the All-Star break, were the worst offense in baseball. We talked about this, right? They had the worst average out of every team in Major League Baseball. They had 226 average. Their on-base percentage was the worst in Major League Baseball. Their slugging percentage was the second worst in Major League Baseball. Their weighted on-base average was the worst in Major League Baseball. Their expected weighted on-base average was the fifth worst in Major League Baseball. Their WRC plus, which is their weighted runs created plus, last in Major League Baseball. Their walk percentage was 13th, middle of the road, not too bad. Their strikeout percentage was 11th in Major League Baseball. Not great in terms of like how many times they struck out. There was only 10 teams that struck out more than the Padres did at this point in time. Whatever which way you want to cut things, the Padres have the worst offense in all of Major League Baseball from the beginning of the season to the All-Star break. Well, now you look at from the All-Star break to today, which is about 20-something games, the Padres now, in almost every category, is first. Their offense is now first in average. Their offense is now first in on-base percentage. Their offense in Major League Baseball, they have the fifth best slugging in Major League Baseball. Their weighted on-base average is the best in Major League Baseball. Expected weighted on-base average, the best in Major League Baseball. Their weighted runs created plus, the best in Major League Baseball. Walk percentage is 12th best in Major League Baseball. Their strikeout percentage is... I'm going to go back on here. It's resetting. Strikeout percentage is the best in Major League Baseball. They've struck out the least amount of times in terms of percentage. Their K percentage since the All-Star break is the best in Major League Baseball. Their batting average on balls in play, third best in Major League Baseball. Look, more traditional stats. They're seventh best in Major League Baseball in home runs over that time. They have scored the fifth most runs since the All-Star break. They have driven in the fifth most runs since the All-Star break. Their stolen bases are top 10 in Major League Baseball since the All-Star break. Their offensive WAR is the best in Major League Baseball since the All-Star break. Their overall WAR is the second best in Major League Baseball since the All-Star break. This is a team that has been the best team in baseball in terms of overall offensive statistics since the All-Star break, and now the pitching's starting to finally settle in. That's all great news. Now, the team has been one of the worst in offense, the New York Yankees. They are hitting... the New York Yankees are in a $1.99 since the All-Star break as a team. Amazing what happens. Amazing what happens. And if you want to look at the whole season, the Padres have gone from having the worst offense to jumping all the way up to 22nd Major League Baseball when it comes to batting average, which doesn't seem like a lot, but with the hole that they're in and based on law of averages, that's a pretty impressive feat for the San Diego Padres to make it that far in that small amount of time. They were the worst going into the All-Star break, and then in 25 games, they've increased their offensive production up to 23rd in baseball, really tied for 22nd with a 237 team average. The fact that they have already passed the amount of teams that they have is truly remarkable. The Yankees are a team that people think can compete in the American League. On the season, they have the third worst batting average in all of Major League Baseball. Padres are climbing up the leaderboard with just how good. They've jumped from last to 20th on the season in on-base percentage. They've jumped 5 spots in slugging. This is an offense that is on the rise right now and hitting their stride at the right time. When we come back, we're going to take a little bit of a break from the Padres in baseball. We're going to let you know what's going on with Aztec Camp, if you will. In the 1 o'clock hour, we got Zach Top tickets to give away on the show. We're going to talk about how San Diego FC did over the weekend, and we're going to talk about Padres and Brewers, all coming up next on the show when we come back on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's number sports station, 97.3 The Fan. 1240 on the Fan. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. Stay tuned for us to give away tickets to Zach Top coming up on September 17th. Stay tuned to how you can win some tickets to see Zach Top here in town. We'll get to that in the 1 o'clock hour. We're going to take a little bit of a break from Padres baseball. We're going to talk about the Aztecs and preseason camp. Big story with some rulings. And again, this is why you have to put rules in. This is, goes along the lines of what Congress had failed to do to meet demands in time. And, we'll talk about that maybe tomorrow. But, the quickly moving and ever-changing landscape of college football, college athletics. We got this report from Kirk Kenney over the weekend, but former San Diego State safety Eric Butler showed up at practice this week because a federal judge's ruling potentially opened the door for players from the 2022 recruiting class who had exhausted their eligibility to return for a fifth season. Butler wanted to come back to San Diego State. He said it plainly, I would return for sure. And then within an hour of saying it, his agent contacted him with an opportunity from the New England Patriots, and Butler signed with the Patriots on Friday. So it was close, and he's going to go to the Patriots, which is probably better for all of sports in general. What matters in this is Butler wasn't drafted in 2026. He had been working out looking for an NFL opportunity. He had worked out for New England in late July. Aztecs' return was essentially a fallback opportunity created by the court ruling. The NFL opportunity came first, and this is a perfect example of just how chaotic the current eligibility and NCAA environment has become. This fifth-year eligibility thing. There's a couple other Aztecs or former Aztecs that could potentially benefit from this ruling as laid out by the article by Kirk Kenney. And both of them played 13 games for the Aztecs last season. Sam Benjamin and Saipale Fuyamano. Both are legitimate questions about whether either player could simply jump back into football after being away from the program. But, there's a lot of questions surrounding a potential return. Are they physically ready to play? Have they been training? Does San Diego State even want to pursue this opportunity? What happens if the NCAA wins their appeal over this federal judge? How much roster uncertainty can a coaching staff tolerate? These are all major questions that go in the decision of whether or not you want to bring back some of these guys. Theoretically, more eligibility sounds like more talent, but coaches still have to build a roster and determine who gets reps. I think it's kind of a wash at this point. I don't think this is something that's going to benefit too many teams out there in college athletics. And it comes so late in the game that aside from maybe like the 2 or 3 athletes that might have been suing the NCAA for this in the first place, I don't see this really a path for success for a lot of players because they're already missing out on camp. They'd have to be added very quickly if that's the case. So I think this ruling was kind of dumb to begin with. I don't know why we continue to have these rulings, aside from the fact that there's a lot of players that don't want to move on from college because they can make more money in college than they will in the National Football League or in professional sports. But I think the bigger Aztec defensive story here that also came out over the weekend, and we talked about this briefly, San Diego State needs to figure out who their starting 5 defensive backs are. And that's probably the biggest football takeaway from camp. Their defense only has 3 returning starters. We talked about this already. None of them are in the secondary, which is a very dramatic change from last season when the Aztecs had one of the more experienced secondaries in the country. Oh, and by the way, they had Chris Johnson, who is a first-round draft pick. So when you factor in Chris Johnson leaving for the NFL, when you factor in Delson Staley, the one returning starting safety, has torn his ACL and is out for the season. When you throw in the fact that multiple new transfers are competing for jobs and several returning players are competing for expanded roles, you got a very premature depth chart. And that's exactly what Demetrius Sumler, the San Diego State defensive coordinator, said. Don't assume the preseason depth chart means anything yet. And I wouldn't if you're an Aztec fan. Demetrius said that competition will continue all the way into the season. And that's important because the Aztecs are basically trying to rebuild its secondary on the fly. Talking about the corners. Projected starting corners coming into camp were Jamison Starks, who was a sophomore transfer from Foothill College, and Mark Lindsay, who is a sophomore transfer from Idaho State. Both impressed during spring practice. Both there are plenty of other names involved. Veterans with some experience in the program. Jelani Whitmore, Josh Hunter, Max Garrison, Prince Williams. Experience matters because these players already understand San Diego State's system, what the practice expectations are. And Demetrius Sumler specifically pointed out that returning players understand the defensive scheme more. They understand practice expectations. They understand adjustments. And they understand how the defense reacts when the offensive picture changes, which is potentially a major advantage for a secondary that has to develop communication quickly. Jelani Whitmore is definitely an X factor. He missed last season with torn knee ligaments and is now working his way back, which is an important development for the Aztecs when it comes to their defense. If he's healthy, San Diego State gets a player who already understands the program and defensive system. The question wouldn't necessarily be whether he has talent. It's how quickly he can get back to being the player that he was before the injury, which is never an easy question to answer. And that's especially important because Jason Oliver's injury has changed the competition. Sacramento State transfer who was brought in to compete for a starting cornerback job. 36 tackles last year at Sac State, 2 picks, all Big Sky recognition. He's dealing with a left foot injury and was using crutches on Friday, as reported by Kurt Kenny. The expectation is that he's probably a week or two away from participating again, which is significant because Oliver could have been an important veteran addition to a young secondary, especially in the secondary, in the 4-2-5 defense that they run. They have to be on the right page, on the same page. They have to be able to communicate. It's so different having an experienced secondary compared to a very young secondary. And it's not great right now, Frank, for, a new defensive coordinator who got the job in the bowl game, in Demetrius Sumler, to have a very inexperienced roster back there, and some of the players that they were counting on with some injuries right now, maybe not being at all available for the season, or 2 ready at the beginning of the season, and having the competition go to the beginning of the year, maybe even in the first couple weeks. It's going to be tough to replace a lot of these faces on the defense. And when you're looking at the secondary, you want some experience back there. And right now, it's a lot of sophomores, a lot of guys that don't have a lot of D1 time, and even some transfers that don't have time here at San Diego State that are going to be back there for Demetrius Sumler's defense. That could pose a problem for the Aztecs.
Oh, it definitely could. And for San Diego State, you're coming off of a pretty good defensive season as well. So these kids saw how this defense is meant to work, saw how this defense is meant to operate. The end of the season didn't go all that well, but still, I mean, there's still some time left, and you can work out some of the kinks when Portland State comes into town. But other than that, I mean, it's definitely an uphill battle for the defense, not only having to replace so many guys, but having to replace pretty much your entire secondary is never an easy task.
And Demetrius Sumler will have to try to do that in his first year as a defensive coordinator. And that being said, he's been with the Aztecs for a long time. He's from San Diego. He went to uni back in the day. He's a running back at the University of San Diego High School. Put together a great career there. Had a good college career. Ended up coming over here to San Diego State as a grad assistant in 2016. He became the corners coach in 2018. He remained on staff when Sean Lewis took over, and he was promoted to defensive coordinator in December. And he still hears Long's voice in his head. I mean, he is a guy that is from a Rocky Long coaching tree, which I think is great. For the Aztecs. Rocky Long has had, Rocky Long is one of the better and some of the best defensive coordinators in college football history. He has always had a really good defense. So Demetrius has been trained by some of the best, and his message is pretty simple, as quoted in this article: don't be soft, get to the ball. That's what you want to see out of a defense. So that tells you a lot about Demetrius Sumler's identity that he wants to have his defense have. the translation of the challenge is obviously translating that mentality to a group with a lot of new faces. The other report from Kirk Kenney over the weekend was the helmet for these guys. I don't know if you've noticed some of the pictures that they've put out. The helmets underneath the Guardian caps do not match the helmets they've been wearing. They don't have the Aztec design. They have been practicing in black helmets with white face masks underneath black Guardian caps. Could that mean a new alternate helmet is coming? It's possible. Obviously, if they don't introduce one, then it remains to be seen. But the question becomes now with that, is there going to be an alternate helmet? Maybe. The fact that at this day and age, with the way college football is, and college football and college football being back in a video game where you get to like unlock uniforms and everything like that, it's surprising to me San Diego State doesn't have like cool vintage uniforms or like any type of alternates. They have a home and they have a road, and that's it. Like when you play with San Diego State on NCAA 27, you have two choices, and there's not much of a difference. I mean, with red, black, with scarlet and black and white, you could come up with so many cool alternate helmets. Like, you don't have to get rid of the Aztec calendar. That's sweet, but like, you could mix it up with some other looks. I don't know why San Diego State hasn't done that.
There's also the thought of this is a new uniform, too. This is only, the second or third year they're wearing these uniforms. They're trying to potentially trying to establish a brand with these uniforms. Now, that's not to say you can't add an alternate. It's about time that you would. But it's, I can't, I'm not going to read too much into them practicing in a different helmet from what they've been wearing.
They've worn this helmet for a while now.
No, I mean, no, the uniform is the one that's had the big change over the last couple years.
The jerseys have been slightly different, but they've had that helmet since 2015, 2016. I mean, they had that thing at Qualcomm. I mean, I just went and found this article. When they unveiled that uniform was August 4th, 2015. Those helmets are 11 years old. They've had those same helmets for 11 years. It's surprising to me that they don't have an alternate at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, it's great. It's a great look. I feel like they should have an alternate. They have some cool throwback helmets they can run with. I mean, it's a great look. Don't get me wrong. With red and black, I'm surprised they don't have. I mean, everybo's got alternate jerseys. The Aztecs don't have any alternate jerseys. They were too. They were they mix up the pants sometimes on the road.
You can kind of do what the Steelers do. You can have the Mayan calendar. You can have the Aztec calendar on one side, and then the SDSU logo on the other side. That's something you can do.
I like some of their old school helmets, but like. They got the new uniforms like last year or whatever it was. But I'm surprised that they haven't added an alternate. If you go back and look at some of their old uniforms that they've had, they have an opportunity. They could go totally with like a throwback or two. They have some cool throwback uniforms that they can roll with. Like the Aztecs spelled out on the helmet was always a good look, I thought. I thought that was a cool lid back in the day. I'd have to go look at like Chris Creamer's like logos if I wanted to check this out. But I'm surprised that they don't have any alternate uniforms. I really don't. I mean, they have a lot of cool logos they could go with. They got a lot of great like the red and black and white is always a great look. I mean, if you start looking at like their helmet from 1997 to 2000 with the Aztecs written across it was a sweet lid that they could go back to. They got a lot of great old logos. They got a lot of great old fonts. I mean, there's some cool stuff that they could totally do. That's why it's surprising to me that they only have the one home and the one away. When we come back, we'll let you know what's going on in the NFL training camp update. We'll let you know how you can win Zach Top tickets in the final hour as well. And we'll preview Padres and Brewers. Lot to get to still. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's number one sports station, 97 The Fan. Broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios, we know how. We're going to be giving away Zach Top tickets at the end of this segment. You can get 2 tickets to Zach Top at Pechanga Arena on September 17th. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com. We will tell you how to do that at the end of this segment. But we talked about the Aztecs, gave you a little Aztec football camp update. Sticking with the football, we got football back this week on Thursday with preseason games resuming after the Hall of Fame game last week. By the way, Hall of Fame game drew the highest ratings out of any Hall of Fame game. Over 7 million people watched the Hall of Fame game last Thursday. People are itching for football. We're going to talk more Padres baseball later this hour. San Diego FC had a good win over the weekend. We'll talk about that as well. But it's time to lock into our NFL camp report here as we do at 1 o'clock. Fire up the music. Get excited for the pigskin. Frank Marchese going to give us his best evil villain version of camp today.
We're going to power through this.
Let's get to New England.
Let's start in New England, where the Patriots have apparently decided that training camp is no longer a place for friends. A.J. Brown says the defense has been bringing a mentality every single day that he hasn't experienced in his 7 NFL seasons. The biggest competition has been between Christian Gonzalez and his biggest competition has been Christian Gonzalez, and those two have been going at it all camp. Meanwhile, there are young players like linebacker Khalil Jacobs forcing their way into the conversation. Are we seeing the makings of a legitimately tough Patriots team, or are we putting too much stock into how intense a bunch of training camp practices have been?
Way too much stock in training camp practices. This is the problem I have with reports of training camp. It's like, oh, look, these guys are competing. Oh, look, this guy looks really good in practice. And you don't know what the intensity is. You don't know what plays teams are working on until they start doing this in games, including preseason games. You're not going to know if this is the case. I mean, I think it's great that they have some intensity. I think it's great that Christian Gonzalez and A.J. Brown they're having meaningful competition. Iron sharpens iron. That's great. But at this point, it's not, it's just training camp. I mean, plenty of teams win camp every August. The defense may be ahead of the offense. We've talked about that before. A.J. Brown's comments could actually be interpreted as a warning that the offense is struggling to consistently beat its own defense. But, I think at this point, you're going to see the inconsistencies from Drake May in camp. Okay, there's going to be a lot of moving parts. And, this isn't these practices, you can't get too much out of what a team's going to look like in training camp because every team is viewing their practices a lot differently, if you will. And then the way that they go about their business and like what the emphasis is here and there. Sometimes these reporters understand it. Sometimes they don't. The fact that Christian Gonzalez and A.J. Brown are having some pretty good one-on-one battles doesn't signify that this team's going to be tougher than they were last year.
Now to Cleveland, where the quarterback competition may have just taken a pretty significant turn. Shedeur Sanders was supposed to be getting the majority of the first-team reps on Saturday. Instead, Deshaun Watson took every first-team rep in team drills. Watson has also put together their best stretch of camp, including some big throws downfield. Has Watson taken control of training of the quarterback competition?
I think so. I mean, the biggest development's the reps. I mean, you're worried about game reps, right? Like, Shedeur Sanders, if he was he was expected to get the number one reps, but he didn't. Watson did. He took every first-team rep in team drills. That is significant in itself. I mean, they wouldn't be doing that just for fun, unless Shedeur Sanders is hurt. But they would have given him an injury designation. He had a deep completion to Isaiah Bond. He had a touchdown to Denzel Boston. He had a 40-yard touchdown to Jerry Jeudy in Friday's practice. He had a big fourth down touchdown in camp to Bond in a 2-minute drill. I mean, the reports are saying that Deshaun Watson looked more comfortable pushing the ball vertically. Coaching staff has a real decision to make before the preseason opener. They specifically said they would use Sunday to discuss the quarterback situation. But to me, experience matters. If Cleveland wants to win now, Watson provides significantly more NFL experience than the rookies do, and if he's starting to look a lot better, then he probably will be their number one quarterback, if you will. So if he's playing better and he's getting every single first-team rep, he's probably going to be the quarterback on day one. We'll see how the preseason goes for the Browns in their first preseason game.
Like we said, they have so much tied up in Deshaun Watson too, as far as draft picks and money. You got to give him the shot. More. Yeah. Let's go to Jacksonville, where there's a receiver quietly becoming a really interesting part of the offense. Parker Washington had 118 yards and a touchdown in the Jaguars' mock game, including a 50-yard catch. Remember, Washington finished last season as Trevor Lawrence's favorite target. So are we looking at a breakout season coming from Parker Washington? And could he actually change how defenses have to play Jacksonville?
I mean, he finished 2025 incredibly strong. He had 19 catches, 347 yards, 2 touchdowns over final 3 regular season games. He had 7 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown in the playoff loss. 118 yards and a touchdown in the mock game. He benefits, obviously, from having Brian Thomas Jr. there and Jacoby Myers and Travis Hunter, who's playing both ways. He's got the trust now with Trevor Lawrence. So, he is slowly starting to progress as a receiver that's going to get a lot of attention in this Jaguars offense. Now, I talked about it last week. I don't think it's enough for him to sign an extension quite yet. I think you need to see multiple years in a row. But that doesn't mean I don't think he can have a breakout year, and I think he might be able to do that. Now, reasons why you would be a little cautious about this. Mock game stats aren't real NFL production. Again, you don't know how camp goes. You don't know what the practice is like. Defenses aren't game planning against their own offense like they would for regular games. Brian Thomas Jr. is still the main cog over there receiver-wise for Jacksonville. Travis Hunter's role could change the distribution of touches, and I think they're going to try to get him a little bit more involved this year than last year if he could stay healthy. So a lot of the increased production that Washington had last year was because of the fact that there were injuries to Jacksonville. So I think he could potentially be a breakout candidate. I think he's a nice, sleeper pick for fantasy football. But he got a lot of success at the end of the year because of injuries. I think a lot more teams might be paying attention to him now in terms of game preparation. But he's definitely benefiting from a good receiver room, which could lead, I think, to him having a pretty good season. I think he's worth a sleeper pick in fantasy. I know maybe might not be that big of a sleeper. I think a lot of people in fantasy football world know about him, but I can see him having a pretty big year, especially if Brian Thomas Jr. with the receiving core that they have, maybe taking some of the pressure off Washington.
Final team in the AFC here. We will go to the Vegas Raiders, where their rookie quarterback suddenly got the opportunity to run the starters after Kirk Cousins and Max Crosby were held out for violating team rules. They got in a fight. Fernando Mendoza had some shaky moments, but he also made some of his best throws in camp and led to a terrific 2-minute period. Is Mendoza actually making this a quarterback conversation, or are we getting ahead of ourselves?
I think you're getting ahead of yourself. Not you specifically, but definitely the reporters out there. I mean, he's going to be a solid quarterback. I wouldn't want to feed him to the wolves. I really wouldn't. I think you let Kirk Cousins do that. Let him take the hits. I know he got first-team reps for the first time. He did well in his first-team reps, which is great. He showed that he is a good quarterback. And he should have a good career as long as the Raiders don't royally screw it up. But he got those reps because of Cousins' absence, not because he won the job. He also overthrew Jack Beck once. He had trouble handling snaps, according to reports. I mean, one practice against starters isn't enough. You could still look good in it, and not be ready to go to be a starter. Kirk Cousins still has enormous experience, and the Raiders brought him in probably to stabilize the position and get their rookie ready for next year. The Cousins-Max Crosby scuffle is worth mentioning because both veterans were held out Saturday because of it, as you mentioned before, which gave Mendoza the opportunity. You like the fact, if you're a Raiders fan, that Mendoza looked good when given the opportunity, but you can't go into this going, oh, he's good enough to be the starter. He had a great 2-minute drill. He was looking good with the ones. I mean, you got to have more consistency than that. And I'd still, even if he was right there knocking on the door, based on the rest of this roster, you don't want to get Mendoza killed out there. But, let Kirk Cousins do it. And then if you're in a jam midway to 2/4 of the way through the season, or should I say 2/3 of the way through the season, maybe you make a change then. But you got to let this guy get some experience first.
Yeah, I would agree. Headed off. Let's see if we can get someone else to introduce this next team here, shall we?
E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles!
Saquon Barkley is making it pretty clear he wants to see what this new offense can do with him. He was all over Saturday's practice, including a touchdown run and some terrific work in his backed up period. The Eagles say everything they do offensively is ultimately about putting their players in the best position to succeed, and Barkley is obviously the focal point. Can Philadelphia build around Barkley without becoming too predictable?
I think they can. I mean, he's one of the most dangerous players on the roster. New offensive system could create more opportunities for him and maybe protect him a little bit. He has shown bursts. He has shown jump cuts. He has shown his ability to make defenders miss. The offense can use him traditionally. They can use him in space. They can use him in the passing game. They can use him at the goal line. I mean, he's such a versatile player that they can run everything through him and still keep defenses on their toes. Plus, they got a good supporting cast also. So I'd like to see what this Eagles offense could do with him. I think if you're going to be expanded a little bit more with this new offense, you can run everything through Saquon Barkley, make him the focal point, but also doing a lot of different things that play off of him. All right. Like you could do some decoy stuff and get Devonta Smith involved a little bit more, but he's now missed 4 straight practices with a hamstring injury. You can use the other weapons that you have on this team that has made you so good in the first place. So I think they got to open it up a little bit more. They can't get just one-dimensional with just Saquon Barkley, but they can use him as a decoy. They can motion him out of the backfield. I mean, he becomes a one-on-one matchup nightmare as well. There's a lot of cool things you could do when you got a player like Saquon Barkley. So you can run everything through him and still keep defenses on their toes. And I think that's exactly what Philly's going to do this year.
Off to Green Bay, where the Packers may have found an answer to a question they've had all camp. With
Of course they did.
With Matthew Golden and Jaden Reed both out Sunday, Savion Williams suddenly got a ton of opportunities, and he took advantage. He had a 60-yard catch, another touchdown, and multiple first-down catches from Jordan Love. Is this the beginning of Savion Williams actually emerging as a major piece of this Packers offense?
I think so. He could do a lot of different things. I mean, he had a couple of Wildcat packages when he was at TCU. He could throw the ball a little bit. He was a high school quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. He's an athlete. And if you can use him in a lot of different packages to make him use his athleticism. I mean, he's got size, he's got speed, he's got strength. He was a third-round pick at a TCU. Very limited rookie production, only 10 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown, but he also had 11 rushing attempts. I mean, he's a guy you can hand the ball off to if you like. And on Sunday, he had a 60-yard catch, as Frank mentioned, 4 additional catches from Jordan Love, red zone touchdown, 2 first-down catches. Importantly, he wasn't only producing against backups, and Jordan Love was throwing to him a lot. The good news for this is, with the injuries, it gives the Packers an opportunity to have Jordan Love throw to Savion Williams in practice, build that community, build that relationship, that trust in the quarterback-receiver relationship, and it's going to help them out, I think. And when Golden comes back and Reed comes back, it opens up the passing attack a little bit more. Christian Watson will be expected to contribute also. So there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed, but when you got Savion Williams getting some good first-team reps due to injuries, it's only going to make you better in the long run. So good for Savion Williams. Packers, I think, can utilize him in big ways. It's a big reason why they drafted him in the 3rd round.
The Saints are giving Tyler Shaw more and more work with the first team. Sunday featured their most extensive 11-on-11 work yet. And Shaw had some good moments, but also some sacks and interception the day before, and penalties and some missed throws. Are we seeing Tyler Shaw start to separate himself, or is this quarterback competition still wide open?
I think he won that competition last year by the way they finished the season. I mean, they were playing a lot better football when he was playing quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. He's getting significant first-team work. He's comfortable making plays outside the pocket. He connected with Chris Olave, Devon Vele, Jordan Tyson, Juwan Johnson, Travis Etienne Jr. Like, he showed his ability to extend plays. He worked specifically on 3rd down on Sunday, and if New Orleans wants to develop a young quarterback, Shuck has the opportunity to seize the job. And I think he did that last year. I really do. Now, the bigger concern for New Orleans, they got a lot of injuries. Dylan Radins is done for the season with a torn ACL. Julian Blackmon left with a knee injury. Cameron Jordan is dealing with a hamstring issue. Chris Olave had his wrist examined on Saturday. Charlie Smith is struggling badly as a kicker. 2 straight, 3 missed practices. So the Saints' biggest problem isn't even actually the quarterback. I think they're good with Shuck. I don't necessarily think that's their big issue anymore. I think you were in the job last year.
Was I mispronouncing his last name?
His name's very hard to pronounce, and I forget which one it is. Sometimes.
At this moment in time, I really don't care. San Francisco. The biggest story isn't actually what happened on the field, it's who's missing. Nick Bosa has now missed 3 straight open practices as he works his way back from a torn ACL. Kyle Shanahan says there's no major setback and that he expects Bosa to be fine. But at what point does being cautious become something the Niners actually need to worry about?
I think if he starts missing games the regular season, I think it'd be a little bit more concerning. I mean, at this point, there's not a lot he needs to do. This is like just kind of getting back in shape. He could do that on his own. They want to make sure he plays. this season, more so than not. So, general source, not necessarily evidence of re-injury, and they're going to keep it cautious. So that's that. I think he'll be fine. I'm not worried about it yet. I guess it depends on the radioactive energy, whatever that thing
power
is.
Substation.
The Power Substation Twitter account is hilarious, by the way. Have you seen that?
I have not. No.
So good. It's Shuck. It is Tyler Shuck.
Okay, thank you.
Come on. And by the way, he won that starting job last year. I don't think there's too much of a quarterback controversy down there, but you know what? Reporters want to report on that stuff. Quarterback controversy.
And
wow, Fernando Mendoza, he did well at the number ones. Crown him. No. If you want to crown him, then crown his ass.
Antonio Bowman. I could care less to say my own name right at this point. I don't care, but
he's my guy. He's a freshman coach at Cathedral. He is a Saints fan. That's why he's a little upset. He was upset with us last year when we were making fun of the Saints for being as bad as they were. Or maybe it was LSU. I couldn't remember. We made fun of one of the teams that he likes from Louisiana, and he got upset with us. He told me before one of the games. Like, you know what? Hey, we just call it as we see it. It is Shuck, though. Which, by the way, I knew it was something weird. I know it was never
shucks.
Shao. But, like, I remember them saying Shuck during the broadcast, and I'm like, that is what you get out of that name? Crazy. All right. When we come back, San Diego FC, big win yesterday. It's good to see them bounce back after the loss to Club America. They got a W in the Leagues Cup. We'll tell you about it when we come back. 125 on the Braden Surprenant Show. We're going to preview the series against the Brewers here in just a little bit. But first, we are going to talk a little bit about San Diego FC that happened to have a game yesterday as they took on Club Tijuana. They got exactly what they needed, and it's a Leagues Cup matchup with TJ. A win, clean sheet, and a bounce-back performance after losing its opener to Club America. Wasn't an overwhelming offensive performance, but SDFC controlled large portions of the game and ultimately won because of Alejandro Alvarado's defensive pressure, Brian Zamble's finishing, and CJ Dos Santos' goalkeeping. The bigger story, though, may be the youngsters. Zamble, an 18-year-old Right to Dream Academy product, scored the game winner, while 17-year-old Alberto Mora was one of the biggest attractions in the stadium despite playing for Club Tijuana. But Frank, San Diego FC got a much-needed Leagues Cup win yesterday as they beat Tijuana 1-0 at a sold-out Snapdragon Stadium in front of 31,538 people.
Yeah, it was a solid game from start to finish for San Diego FC because Anders Dreyer had a goal called back in just the second minute of the match. It was ruled offside, so there was a foul called, sorry. But other than that, yeah, it was just about as perfect a game for San Diego FC as you could have imagined from start to finish. Now they play Puebla on Wednesday. If you're fast enough, you can probably get from Petco Park to Snapdragon Stadium before the game even starts.
Yeah, San Diego FC had lost their Leagues Cup opener to Club America. Estadio Azteca is not great for San Diego FC.
No, it has not
it's not been very good to them. But the victory keeps SDFC alive and gives the club momentum in a crossover competition between MLS and Liga MX. Again, overall, I would think that most San Diego FC fans, I mean, this is great. This is a little icing on the cake, but you want to get them ready. The team needs to get back on track, and get ready for MLS competition because they are in a little bit of a hole that they have to climb out of. But they didn't need to be spectacular last night. It needed to provide, it could win a game like this. Mission has been accomplished in that. They finally put like a full 90 minutes together, which was great to see. And CJ Dos Santos was the difference yesterday, Frank.
Yeah, he was absolutely fantastic. And again, like I said, it was from start to finish. San Diego FC put on an incredible performance. And also you're talking about how many games they've have to play in so close a time because of the 1 month off for the World Cup. You don't have to travel too far for the next match, for the next MLS match, because you're only going up to Los Angeles to play LAFC.
CJ Dos Santos was the difference. He had a save in the 58th minute where he made a diving stop against Padilla from the top of the box in the 67th minute. Diving save against Rivero. Tijuana also hit the post in the first half. I mean, those saves preserved the clean sheet for CJ Dos Santos. And interesting wrinkle in the recap article, Mikey Varas wasn't completely sold on calling it a great goalkeeping performance. I mean, he called it an average to an above average game. Said the club is looking for a goalkeeper who can make San Diego FC more complete in our buildup, according to the quote. That's an interesting comment, Frank. It really is. I mean, the question wasn't whether CJ Dos Santos can make saves. Can he become the type of goalkeeper Varas wants tactically? What do you take away from Varas' comments after last night's game when CJ Dos Santos throws together a clean sheet?
He's not satisfied with just winning. He wants to be dominant. He wants to know that his team is the best that it can possibly be. And just because you get the result that you're looking for doesn't mean the process to get that result is what worked. It is the best. It is optimal. So he wants to get a goalkeeper that he knows without a doubt is going to give him his best performance every single night. Not to say that CJ hasn't, but for Dos Santos to perform to the level that he is expected to perform at every single night, and not just get a clean sheet based off of a decent enough game.
How about 18-year-old academy product in Brian Zamble, who scored the game's only goal? The sequence started with Alejandro Alvarado pressing and intercepting a careless Gilberto Mora pass, and then played the ball to Anders Dreyer, continued his run, received the ball back, beat Mora, found Zamble wide open, and Zamble finished it in the 23rd minute. Varis in the postgame specifically praised Zamble for taking advantage of his opportunity. Quote, "He really put me on notice as head coach." That's probably the most important quote of the night. But how about an 18-year-old, announcing his presence with San Diego FC? Good to see him play.
Yeah, and Zambelli, he's been very, very good. He's been given few opportunities, but in the ones that he has been given, he has shined. I believe this is his second goal against Tijuana. There was a friendly last year that the two clubs played that he scored in as well. So Zambelli has been a very, very solid player for this team when he's been given the opportunity to, and he's still very, very young. He's only 18 years old, and the goal that he scored was assisted by Alvarado, I believe, is 19 or 20. So a lot of youth up front for San Diego FC, making a big difference. I
think the other thing too is we've talked about the defensive side and the immaturity that they have had, but they did show some maturity last night, which is great because Tijuana had multiple chances. Fernandez nearly scored in the 11th minute. Padilla forced a major save. Rivera forced another. Manuel hit the post in the 73rd minute. SDFC survived all of that. No red cards to speak of. And that's something this club needs to develop, the ability to win when it's playing its best attacking soccer. A 1-0 win with a clean sheet can be more valuable psychologically, maybe sometimes than a 4-2 win. But I think this is more about the maturity from the defense than anything else, something that the team needed to work on, especially from earlier in the season.
Yeah, no, it's and the penalties and the cards issue that seems to have fallen by the wayside. Their discipline has gotten a lot better than what it had been at the beginning of the season. But again, now you're moving on. You're trying to collect those wins again, instead of just settling for draws and playing to your full potential and getting the result that you should be getting from those results.
So, good result for San Diego FC. Got to see some physicality in the game yesterday. Kind of adds to that rivalry flavor, if you will. Some exciting times, a sold-out crowd at Snapdragon Stadium. A great showing for San Diego FC as they even themselves now in the Leagues Cup, and they're still alive potentially to advance. Before we go to break, if you call in, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. If you call in and you are the fifth caller, you will win 2 tickets to Zach Top coming up on September 17th at Pechanga Arena, September 17th. Zach Top, we've got 2 tickets to give away. Give us a call, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. The fifth caller will win tickets to Zach Top on September 17th. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com. We'll announce the winner and give you a preview of Padres and Brewers when we come back to finish up the show on a Monday. The Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. All right, final segment of the day. Show flew by. I don't know about Frank. Frank's been battling today. He got called upon in the bullpen to eat some innings, and man, is he eating innings right now. You gonna go home and sleep? Please tell me you're just gonna go home and sleep.
I do what I do for the team. Put the team on my back, dude.
Trying the best. Hey man, we need better break tunes. Like we have a choice in that matter. We can only play what we have that's available, and we can't play stuff that's licensed. Otherwise, stuff gets flagged on YouTube. So it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
I mean, we could sit there with just a screen, no music at all. We could do that too.
We usually have the commercial break videos, which we won't have this week, but we'll have.
Play the
week.
Lego Batman music.
I hope you just go home and sleep for like
I'm going to.
14 hours.
I'm going to.
All right. Who won the tickets today? For Zach Top. I will actually be at that concert. I already bought tickets to that concert.
That guy won them.
Thank you.
Something in San Diego. I think it was Chris in San Diego, something like that. Hold on, we're checking now. Going back and checking through our system, which is so slow. It's moving backwards.
I like one's chat. Frank takes one for the team just to be told he has New Jersey energy.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, by the way. Yeah, Chris in San Diego.
Frank's going to have nightmares of 12-year-olds missing ground balls. Guys living to die with New York, man. Should have jumped on the New Jersey bandwagon.
The only thing in New Jersey I will ever jump on is cutting them away from the continental United States.
Wow.
That's the only thing New Jersey I will ever jump on.
I'm digging New Jersey now because I'm watching the. I finally decided to watch The Sopranos. I'm like 6 episodes
How
in.
have you never watched The Sopranos?
I don't watch TV. Dude, that show. The first season of that show came out when I was 4 years old. The first season of The Sopranos.
It's such a good show, man.
It is a good show. I mean, I heard the third season is like one of the best in television. That first episode of The Sopranos was January 10th, 1999. I was 3 years old, about to be 4 in 1990. And on January 10th, 1999.
You do kind of have to pay attention with that show because new characters get introduced. They don't really like explain to you who they are. You just kind of got to get context clues in there. So you do kind of have to pay attention.
Yes, of course. That's not something like I'd put it on like in the background. Like
yeah, no, you have to sit and watch that.
I mean, I finally got into Breaking Bad like when I was in college. I watched all Breaking Bad when I was in college. I don't. Here's the thing: is like I don't watch television. I just don't. I don't. When I get home, like so today, like I'll have a quick break, and then I'll go to football practice. And on Mondays I play softball. I'm watching usually the Padres if I have time to watch television, or I'm watching MLB Network. I just don't watch TV shows. And so, by the way, I started this about like a month and a half ago. I'm on episode 6 of the first season. So it's not like I actively watch television. I don't. I am more of a movie guy over TV shows, like all the time. I would rather watch a movie than a TV series. I like Landman. I'm waiting for that one to come out. I mean, my family started watching The Bear, a couple years ago, but I was working on football in between stuff. So like I have seen bits and pieces of The Bear as I worked on football in a different room.
So I'm assuming you have HBO Max then. If you're watching The Sopranos, I know they're on a couple different things.
They're on HBO Max. Yes.
Yeah, you have HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
One show I would highly recommend you watching is Chernobyl.
My brother loves that show.
It's an unbelievable show. Episode 4 is by far and away the worst because of the side plot that they decide to throw in there. But I would say to skip it, but there are pretty important like main plot lines that are in episode 4. But it's only 5 episodes. Each episode's an hour long. Chernobyl is an incredibly good show.
I heard that. I mean, I have watched the original or the first season of True Detective probably 4 times, start to finish. So I do like certain television shows as long as it's like pretty good. But like I can't get into a lot of them that are created now. I watch sports. I watch Maction. I watch college football, and when I'm not doing that, I'm working on high school football stuff, coaching stuff, playing softball. Like I don't have time to watch television, or I'm doing USD broadcasts or getting ready for the next broadcast. I mean, it's definitely a lot of that in my life, more so than like just watching TV. I can't tell you the last time. Like, I do like the fact that USD is playing a lot of games on Sundays, which is not great for my NFL watching, but I actually get to watch college football this year, and I cannot wait to sit down and watch. I mean, watching college football from start to finish is great. Now, I have to deal with like going to film in the morning and stuff like that for high school football, but I've already looked through my schedule for like the fall for like USD, and I got a lot of games that I'm doing, which I'm excited for. But there's a lot of Saturdays where I can actually, first of all, watch my favorite team play football, and then I can watch all the other games. I can actually be like locked in to college football.
What day are they playing now that they're playing? TCU, what day are they playing for the Ireland game? Because they started on Monday last year.
Saturday. Well, they had the last game of like the opening weekend, whatever. But they play on Saturday, week 0. They play August 29th or whatever. So if you're feeling good, you can come over and you can watch that, because I'm doing a brisket that day.
I'm sure.
And we're getting ready for the NASCAR
I will
event.
be better.
We're getting ready for the NASCAR event that day. That's like a NASCAR day.
NASCAR event. Okay.
There's a race that afternoon or that evening. So week 0 and NASCAR. Are you kidding me? You know what? I do the one in the YouTube chat. Imagine going 30 years without experiencing Paulie Walnuts. You know what? I love that guy on the show. I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. Paulie Walnuts. I'm 6 episodes in, and people like watch The Sopranos. If they did a good, if their whole goal was to make the mom in the show and Junior the 2 worst characters in television, then they did a great job. They did a great job. Because after like 2 episodes, I am waiting, and I know it's not going to happen. I was waiting for Tony Soprano and James Gandolfini to whack his mom and his Uncle Junior. I'm waiting for it. Like, get rid of these people. They suck. Is Tony Soprano's mom one of the worst characters in all of television? She's got to be one of the worst people in all of television. I mean, what an annoying bitch. Just seriously, the entire time. It's so bad. What is so funny about this?
It's like I'm picturing having this conversation 27 years ago at this point now. Like I'm like dying. This is great. Welcome to 1999.
She is such an annoying
radio.
bitch. she's insufferable. It's terrible. Guy brings the macaroons. They're too sweet. Just throw that in the bitch's face. Terrible. The best part about the Sopranos, is like, you got James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano, and the guy has all this power in the mob world, but he can't control his daughter, he can't control his wife, he can't control his son. He's just like, his mom cripples him. It's just like he's just at home. At home.
Big man on campus only travels so far,
I know.
dude.
Gets walked all over at home. Where's the gabagool? Okay. Anyway, that's a good question. I almost brought that idea up. I break down 20-year-old TV shows as I go through it. Never watched MASH. I think it's a great segment idea. Just go back and watch old legendary shows that I've never seen. I've actually seen all of Breaking Bad, so you can't do. You know what? We should live react to Seinfeld. Just like 30 years down the road. Can you imagine? This George Costanza guy is kind of wild. What's Kramer's deal? You know what? I was. It's so funny. When I was driving home from practice the other day, the real or fake question on Bennett Woods was like Gilligan's Island characters. I would have sucked at that. I have seen that show like twice. I couldn't name you a single character. I just had no idea. No idea what any of the characters' names were. I couldn't name you one character on Gilligan's Island.
Come on, dude. There's one. You got to find one.
Gilligan.
Thank you. It was his freaking island.
Couldn't name you a single one. I tell you, dude. I don't watch TV a lot. I just don't.
What are your thoughts on Saved by the Bell, the college years?
I don't think I've ever seen one episode of Saved by the Bell. Have you ever seen that show Dexter? Didn't that just come out?
Yeah.
Dexter. I like movies over TV shows. I can't get into TV shows. And people are like, listen to all these like. I have never seen anything that people are putting in the chat right now.
What's your take on Law and Order SVU?
It's not bad. That I put that on.
Oh, you actually do watch? Okay.
That's you know why? Because I had to watch it in class, in my government class.
You an All in the Family guy?
No, see, this is all the stuff that I had to put a Quizlet together for like my college classes that I quickly got answers for a test and then never carried it.
What'd you think of the Jeffersons?
Never seen the Jeffersons.
Oh God.
I had a class called History of Broadcasting at TCU. Did not retain any information about that class except for a couple of sports things. I thought it was the most boring class ever. They're talking about like all these TV shows and stuff. I could not care less. Hey, did you ever hear about that show? Oh, there's a new show that came out. It's called Dragnet. It's pretty good. Dun, 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 dun. I think there's a segment in here somewhere. I think there's a bit for this.
You watching the new episode of 24?
Jack Bauer. You think Drake May's funny? Jack Bauer. That's what like DSC used to do all the time. They'd go 24, Jack Bauer. That's just all they would say. That's the only thing I know about 24 is Dave Shelley and Chainsaw when I was a kid, listening with my mom, like driving to school, to St. Michael's when I was like, Jack Bauer, 24, Jack Bauer. That's just what they would say all the time. I have no idea why.
So this is clearly a lockout bit.
It could be.
We have to do now.
It could be. I hope we don't have to do it very long.
We also have another lockout bit that we were going to do. There are videos that I've found online, just searching through YouTube.
This is already getting scary.
Through YouTube,
there are videos
holes.
that I found online, searching through YouTube. This could not end well.
There is a video of 1 hour of pure silence, randomly broken up by Michael Jackson. Exactly.
I've heard of that video.
So that's some lockout content right there. We just go through our normal show, and then every now and again, Michael Jackson screams at us.
I mean, you can make it a drop and just click it whenever you want.
No, that's not as funny.
It is pretty funny. If you played that video in the background while I was doing a show and I was anticipating that, I would strangle you. Or at least throw something at you. I could not do a show like that.
There's another one where it's like 5 hours of silence broken up by the beep of a smoke detector every now and again.
Stop it. Foul. You get a preemptive foul.
He draws the foul.
I will say there's something in there about live reaction to old shows that were very popular. I'll let you know what happens in episode 7 of The Sopranos.
1 hour of silence randomly broken up by Timu Bane.
Which is what Frank is today. Not really Bane. You'd have to have like the higher pitched voice. All right, well, that's it for that. Casey Mize, hopefully he does a lot better today. I have my bold prediction that we haven't done in a long time. Casey Mize, 6 innings, 1-run ball tonight. What do you think about that? How does it make you feel?
Well, I'm feeling nothing but exhaustion and pain right now.
We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Gwen and Chris coming up next.
Padres, Brewers.